If you've ever waited around all day for the mailman to show up with your package, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's pre-market playbook, as we are at the penultimate day of the week here. Another day to get through. Market near all-time highs. The pre-market looks strong here as we continue to push up. S&P futures green, Dow futures flat, NASDAQ futures green. Look like we're in good shape. We got some news to break down today. I'm sure we're going to have a ton of charts to go through. 13 is going to be joining us in about an hour, and I have a new special guest for during the trading hour. So without further ado, Benzinga's pre-market playbook, the Thursday edition for July 10th, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. We are almost at the end of the week, and it's been a good week here. We've got more to go through here today. Excited to get to it here today. Like I said, excited to bring on a new guest here in the trading hour. I hope that you all find it valuable, and I hope that you all like it, as we are going to continue to try and raise the tide around here for everyone that joins. Empyrean, good morning. Very upset. I almost bought MP, then decided against it. If only I could have predicted the future. Multi-billion-dollar deal this morning. Yeah, you and me both with the future. I actually I don't know if you folks remember, but I actually mentioned MP several weeks ago when we got that first piece of news about rare earths or whatever. I had actually mentioned that MP, it was in a 20 handle. And I had mentioned that MP might be a pretty good buy here. I also mentioned USAR, which is kind of a smaller company, cheaper price. I mentioned those both. But like you, Empyrean, I never bought it. I thought to myself, this is probably going to work. Maybe we get 5 points out of it. I've had some of my funds tied up in some other trades that I'm waiting for. And I was like, you know what? I'm not sure if I'm going to do this. When I woke up this morning and saw the news, I was like, damn. So I feel you. But here's the one thing that I will say about that. There will always be another opportunity, and we will find it. You can bet your bottom dollar. So no worries about that. Good morning. Welcome back. Paul, good morning. It's good to see you again. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Ezrar, good morning. Sunkissed Yogi, good morning. Charles, good morning. Shanlu Trading, good morning. Graf, Zach, and Javon, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Day Trader, this morning is your day, buddy. Today is your day. One of the news stories here is literally, I think the guy talked to you last night and you're like, hey, why don't you make this quote? And that way Ryan will read it in the morning and I'll get to do a huge victory lap. Also, another company here adding Solana to the treasury. We're going to cover it all. Good morning, boss. Nice to see you. Bernhard, welcome back. Nice to see you. Harley, good morning. White Chocolate Mocha, good morning. Kerching, yes. Good morning. Big B's, good to see you again as always. Dirkus, good morning. Greater, good morning. Jonathan, locked in. Jeff, good morning. It's good to see you again. Robert, did you manage to catch the ONDS call? Seems like nothing new but a bright outlook for the future. Robert, I did. I didn't catch all of it, and I actually am still looking to see if there's a replay that I can go back and watch. I started listening to it. They were actually talking about how they're going to ramp the future, and that's going to make the efficiencies come down and should drastically increase profit, even with the existing contracts. So all of that was good to hear. But as we've said on this, we really actually want to see those numbers reflected through after an earnings instead of just people talking about it. But I did not catch the whole thing. I'm still looking for that. Overall, I would say it was pretty decent. Remember what we're dealing with ONDS. There is a huge Twitter account that has a massive amount of shares, and there's a huge following that I'm sure is in it. So that's going to cause some of these moves back and forth. But positive takeaways from what I did here there. Golger, good morning. Good to see you again. Special K, good morning. Tyler, good morning. Glass half full, good morning. Ryan, good morning. Mama Bear, locked and loaded. Indeed, good morning. Edward, good morning. Kevin, good morning. Is the morning live room part of the pro package? I can't seem to access it through my laptop, just through YouTube. So the morning show, this show right now does not require pro. The only show, if you will, that requires pro is the happy hour. And that's because it's a Zoom-based call where the invitation is sent to only pro members through the platform. But this show that you're on here, no, there's no restriction or anything. Bonjour, smoked tuna here early. Stan, good morning. I found MP a few months ago knowing it was the only material processing company in North America, and I bought some of it. Wish I had bought more, but a pleasant surprise this morning. Stan, I absolutely love this. This is a thesis. Nobody told you to do it. You said this happened, so I think this is going to happen, so I'm going to buy this. And today you are rewarded. Spoiler alert for you, Stan. When you get these humongous winners, like when you wake up and one of your holdings is up 40%, you will almost always have the feeling of, I wish I had more. It's just how it goes. It's natural human nature. I've been there a million times. I'd venture a guess that the chat has also been there. But nonetheless, really good trade for you. Well done. You're being rewarded here this morning. JJ, good morning. Ed, good morning. Ricardo, good morning. Gabrielle, good morning. Nathan, good morning. Dermog, good morning. EKS, great to see you again. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into the charts here. We'll talk about all of this news. For those of you that are like, what the hell is MP and what's going on? We'll show you, but let's go ahead and start here with the chart. So here's your SPY chart. We're still holding higher here. We are just a stone's throw from all-time highs here today. In fact, we might actually print those in the session here today, depending on how strong we are. The all-time high, that value for you, 626.28. So 62628, we're currently at 62402. So not a whole lot of movement to set some new all-time highs here today. We'll see if we end up getting it again. If we take a look inside here this morning, futures actually firming up ahead of the open. We'll see if that holds here. Some downside levels at this point. I think we want to look at this, the actual low from this candle here. This is the Monday, July 7th candle. That low is 617.87. I think if we break that, it's probably 613 next to the downside. If we break out here, I don't necessarily have a target for today. I just want to see if we end up breaking out. I had this trend line from the Liberation Day low through the lows of the recovery. What I've done recently, as of yesterday, is I've actually extended this trend line. Now, it's a pretty steep one, but I've extended this trend line because if this melt up continues and we continue to trade up, pretty ferociously, this trend line might actually mark a target. Now, I'm not expecting that. We'll see. But that is one of the changes that I made here to the SPY chart, just to see if we can get an upside level from that. But that's what we got here with the SPY. Let's very quickly take a look at the morning report. Then we're going to blow through some of this news here. Initial jobless claims coming here today. We also have Fed's balance sheet, but we also have Musalem, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's got a speech here at 10. We have 10:30 natty gas. The 15 and 30-year mortgage rate, that comes at 12. At 1, we have the 30-year bond auction, which actually could move the market. We'll see. Then we have Fed Waller and Fed Daily in the afternoon here, 1:15 and 2:30 respectively. So we do have some Fed heads here today. We'll see if what they have for us. No IPOs here today. As far as some of the company events here, we do have a couple. Small cap consumer research might affect Vince Holdings, ticker VNCE. I think we've traded this one off the scanner before, so maybe we get some news on that. And then we have this CJS Securities 25th Annual New Ideas Summer Conference. Let's list a couple of stocks in here. Maybe we get something out of there. NVTS, Navitas Semiconductors, which we traded here as a group, as an honorable mention there. Okay, looking through this, let's see. FICO, Fair Isaac. This Anne-Marie gave a trade out on this a couple of weeks ago. I think Big Bees was also talking about FICO recently. They caught an outperform upgrade here today from BMO Capital. Price target 2,000 there on FICO. Comstock Resources here, ticker CRK. I think that's Jerry Jones's company. They got a sell rating from UBS, $20 price target. Paychecks, they got a market outperform from BMO, 160 price target. We'll see what we end up getting there. And eBay caught an outperform from Baird. It's actually down slightly. I would call that flat. Price target $80 there. Also, NNE, Nano Nuclear. This is one of the 3 stocks that we've traded in that nuclear theme, SMR, OKLO, and then NNE. That actually caught a buy from Ladenburg Thalmann with a $51 price target there. Looking at the downgrades, we talked a little bit about CRK as they caught an initiation there. Workday also got an underweight from Piper Sandler. Coors, CORZ. There's been a lot of action with that recently. They got a hold from Needham here. CoreWeave also got a hold from Needham there, and a $78 price target. CoreWeave is $153. We'll see what happens there. Coinbase getting a sell from H.C. Wainwright and a $300 price target. Coinbase has been an absolute monster recently. Okay, and then upgrades here. AMD I think it was Smell or a couple of you playing AMD. AMD catching a buy rating from HSBC, $200 price target. Love that. AMD down here at 141, so maybe we get a little bit of a catch up here in the second half of the year. Roku caught an overweight from KeyBank, 115 price target. Roku at $91. Some pretty good movement there. Oracle, McDonald's also catching some upgrades here. McDonald's got a buy rating from Goldman Sachs, 345 price target. This thing is sub 300. Actually, might be teasing a 300 breakout here today. We'll see. And then Oracle here, overweight from Piper, 270. That price is 240. Oracle's been smoking recently as well. So there you go. That is your morning update on what's going on. Let's take a look at some of the news. We're going to start here with the victory lap for day trader. Get ready, boss. All right, President Trump imposed 50% tariffs on Brazil, escalating the trade tensions between the two nations. This was followed by a slew of letters posted on his Truth Social account to Japan, South Korea, and other countries with a deadline of making a deal by August 1st. Trump also urged the Fed to cut interest rates by 3%. Lol. While June's Fed minutes were a mash with words uncertainty over the tariffs. So we actually had, from the meeting minutes, we had, I'm trying to remember the quote without looking at it, several of the voting members, or several of the Fed members, I should say, think that there might be no rate cuts in 2025. Now, that did not really sink the market. In fact, the market traded up after that, but that is floating around out there. The 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.35%. The 2-year was 3.85%. Now, let's get to some analysts here. Here we go. The senior global market strategist at Wells Fargo, Scott Wren, who we've quoted here a bunch, he's actually been pretty good too, highlighted that the resurfaced tariff negotiations after the 90-day pause have again started to impact global stock and bond markets. He said, quote, some potentially serious trade frictions were just around the corner, ready to rear their ugly heads and impact global stocks and bond markets, end quote. Wren highlighted that the first 90-day pause of largely reciprocal tariffs with a number of important trading partners was due to expire yesterday, July 9th. But as the financial markets woke up and got ready to go on Monday morning, the headlines hit the news wires that the pause was being pushed back to August 1st. We've covered how that's not actually being pushed back. It's just a different date for when it starts. And letters were going out to various trading partners, encouraging them to come to an agreement with the U.S. on this new date. Quote, the upcoming expiration of the 90-day tariff pause on August 12th with China are just a big reminder that we are still in the early stages of hammering out what U.S. trade relationships with our largest trade partners will be. Granted, the magnitude of the implementation has been uneven and inconsistent in recent months. Wren said, quote, U.S. consumers have yet to see the full effects of tariffs at this point. So who from our chat has been pounding the table saying this? Take your victory lap, buddy. Consumers are in many cases buying goods that were inventoried by sellers prior to the application of the tariffs. Once those inventories are depleted and replaced with goods that are subject to tariffs, we would expect to see goods inflation increase into the end of the year and in the early months of 2026. I'm not trolling you. No, I'm actually being serious. This is literally what you were saying. Scott has actually been pretty level-headed on this, and he seems to have bent towards your viewpoint here about the tariffs not really showing up yet, and that still being something out there. Wren added that rising inflation is likely to increase market worries as market consensus calls for 2 rate cuts in 2025. Like I was just telling you, some of the Fed people are saying no rate cuts. So we'll see where we end up falling there. Meanwhile, talking about inflation, Louis Navellier of Navellier and Associates stated that, quote, I am expecting favorable inflation reports for retail sales to have picked up a bit from May's slow pace, end quote. Quote, economic activity appears to be picking up, so both business and consumer sentiment should be rising, end quote. Bang. All right. So that takes care of the kind of general market overview and some insights from analysts. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the next story here. OpenAI finalizes a $6.5 billion deal to acquire Jony Ive's AI hardware startup. Here's what we know about that. On Wednesday, OpenAI updated saying that the deal has, quote, officially closed. Well, Ives' design firm Loveform will remain independent. It will take on a deep design and creative responsibilities at OpenAI going forward. According to the available reports, the first product will not be a wearable in-ear device, but rather something that sits in your pocket or on your desk. The rumored pocket-sized gadget will reportedly be context-aware, offering screen-free interactions by understanding the user's environment and behavior. Now, I'm going to stop right there because I got some reservations about this. If a pocket-sized gadget that does not require screen interaction, that's going to be understanding the user's environment and behavior, basically means this is going to be tracking a ton of data about what you're going to be doing. A ton of data. Not sure that I like that. I know we'll see what some of the privacy options are, what ends up happening from this, but no bueno, at least from my side here. Previously, it was reported that the IO acquisition brings on board about 55 engineers and designers from Apple and Loveform, including Tang Tan. This is one of my favorite names ever, by the way. Tang Tan. Did anyone drink Tang when they were younger? Anyway, Tang Tan, the coffee is not hitting me yet. Evans Hankey and Scott Cannon, all key figures behind the creation of the iPhone, Apple Watch, and other flagship devices. Sounds like some of Apple's top talent being purged here. The acquisition was first announced in May, with OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Ive unveiling plans to develop new AI hardware that moves beyond legacy interfaces like smartphones and laptops. After the acquisition was announced, Gene Munster, managing partner at Deepwater Asset Management, said that OpenAI represents the first significant competitive threat to Apple in over 2 decades. So this, I think, is going to be really the big takeaway. All of the rest of this stuff are just smaller details. Really, the key takeaway here is, does Apple actually face some stiff competition, or in this case, what does he call it here? Significant competitive threat. If that's the case and that plays out, I would imagine that that's definitely a net negative for Apple. Again, we'll see what's happening here, but this is where we're at right now. However, last month, OpenAI removed all public materials about its acquisition after IYO Inc. filed a trademark lawsuit claiming that the IO name infringes its intellectual property. Now, I'm going to go back here real quick to Benzinga Pro. We are going to take a look at the Apple chart. We're going to see. I just want to kind of get an idea of where we're at, and then maybe where we go from here. We're basically right on and over the 100-day trend line. I've got that we're actually beneath it. I beg your pardon. I have that value at 211.12, and we are currently sitting at 210.20. So right off the bat there, that's going to be one of your key levels here for Apple. One of the things that we were kind of waiting for over the past couple of, really since Liberation Day, frankly, we started to recover here. We figured out that there's a kind of a downtrend here. We really have not been able to punch over the trend line. I understand that now we're past the trend line, but basically we traded sideways in order to break this trend line. We did start to firm up. Apple made a pretty nice move the last several sessions. It's a little bit of a pullback. What I would really like to see here is if Apple can hold higher than 204, that's going to be your 20-day moving average and your 50-day moving average. If it can hold above that, perhaps we can maintain this positive move higher. I got 223, 222 and a half maybe by the time we get there. That's your 200-day for Apple. That would be my next upside target here. Downside, like I said, those moving averages there. So there you go. That's kind of what I see here for Apple. Let me know if you think that this is a negative here for Apple. Looking at it, it is down slightly here in the pre-market. What's going on with Delta? They reported earnings. We can cover that in a little bit, but not terribly pressing here. Appreciate producer for throwing the stats there in the chat. Sorry. Staying along the lines of Apple needs, quote, product-focused CEO. Apparently, there are some more calls for Tim Cook's job. Now, I know we've talked about that, but let's face it, we're just plebs, right? We're not going to be effective in removing Tim Cook, but maybe there seems to be that idea seems to be building, I should say. Analysts from Lightshed Partners have suggested that Apple should consider a change in leadership to prioritize product innovation, particularly in the rapidly growing field of artificial intelligence. Yeah, we all know about that. In a note on Wednesday, the Lightshed analyst proposed that Apple might benefit from a new CEO, as reported by MarketWatch. The suggestion comes in the wake of an impending departure of Apple's chief operating officer, Jeff Williams. The analyst acknowledges Cook's operational expertise, but argue that Apple now needs a leader who is more focused on product development. I think we all probably agree with that. I feel like we've talked about this story for a while. It really seems like it's the innovation that's lacking there. Operationally, they're doing fine. They obviously have basically turned the iPhone into a service, which is cool, guaranteeing revenue, and they obviously have a ridiculous balance sheet and all that. But they really have been lacking on some of their products, and it looks like there's growing calls for that to change here. They also expressed doubts about Apple's ability to achieve a super cycle. Now, this one I'm a little bit more skeptical of. Literally, since I've bought Apple and been trading it back in 2014, I think that was, I've heard this a ton of times. I've heard there's the cycle's going to be bad. It's over. There's no super cycle. None of this stuff's going to happen. And then it does. And then it keeps happening. So I'm a little bit skeptical on that until we see it. But I do agree with the other point here that the product innovation, not actually Apple-like, seems to be lacking a little bit there. Notes that the company struggled to keep pace in the field of artificial intelligence. And again, we'll see if they can actually make up some ground there. They warned, quote, AI will reshape industries across the global economy, and Apple risks becoming one of the casualties. Not something we've said in the last 20 years. No way. This call for a change in Apple's leadership follows a series of significant developments within the company. Just a day before the analyst note, Apple announced that the upcoming retirement of its chief operating officer, Jeff Williams, who was once tipped as a potential successor to Tim Cook. This news came amid criticism from the White House trade advisor, Peter Navarro, who expressed dissatisfaction with Cook's reluctance to move Apple product production out of China. These events have sparked discussions about Apple's future, with some industry experts like Dan Ives urging the company to make strategic moves, such as acquiring Perplexity AI for the search engine. Amid these debates, the suggestion for a new CEO adds another layer of ongoing discussions about Apple's direction and leadership. Now, we've covered a lot of the potential negatives here with Apple. The one thing that I just think about the other side here. This company is an absolute monster. It's one of the strongest companies in the world. The balance sheet is unbelievable. If they're able to successfully if they shake up at all, if they shake up the C-suite at all, and they're able to hit on something like that, there is tremendous upside here. I mean, if they release some product that we haven't thought about that everybody wants, giddy up. This thing's going higher, and it's the demise of Apple will have been greatly exaggerated. So I know it looks obvious to us right now where we're at, but please understand that things can change and change quickly. All right, next here, TSM. Taiwan Semiconductor reporting earnings here. Taiwan Semiconductor reports solid half-year revenue. June sees a monthly decline, though. The leading contract chip maker reported consolidated revenue of approximately 263.71 billion new Taiwan dollars, which is approximately 8.3 billion for the month. This represents a 17.7% decrease from May 2025, but a 26.9% increase compared to June 2024. For the first half of 2025, which is January through June, Taiwan Semiconductor's total revenue reached 1.773 trillion new Taiwan dollars, which again is approximately 55.8 billion, marking a 40% year-over-year increase. Taiwan Semiconductor's second quarter 2025 revenue reached 933.79 billion new Taiwan dollars, which is 31.9 billion US. Based on the reported first quarter revenue, I'm just going to go with the US values from now on just because it's easier on me. Based on the reported first quarter revenue of 25.5 billion USD. This indicates a strong 38.6% year-over-year growth for the second quarter of 2025, topping the company's own guidance of 28.4 billion to 29.2 billion issued in April. Bloomberg analyst Charles Shum attributed this performance to robust AI-driven demand from chip designers like NVIDIA and increasing outsourcing orders from Intel. Shum suggests that the strong momentum is offsetting softness in the mobile and consumer segments, helping Taiwan Semiconductor remain on track for its 25% annual U.S. dollar sales growth target. However, he anticipates operating margins may be closer to the lower end of guidance, around 47%, due to the weakening U.S. dollar. In a related development, Taiwan Semiconductor is reportedly prioritizing U.S. expansion, accelerating American operations in response to potential chip imports from Washington. This focus has reportedly led to a postponement of a second planned Japanese plant, despite $20 billion investment plan and $8 billion pledged support from the Japanese government. While Chairman C.C. Wei previously cited traffic issues in Kumamoto for early delays, sources suggest the project's resumption in Japan is not imminent. In March, Taiwan Semiconductor announced an additional $100 billion investment in U.S. chip making, building on the $65 billion announced in April of 2024. Taiwan Semiconductor stock has surged over 17% year-to-date, topping the New York Stock Exchange Composite 8% and PHLX Semiconductors 14%. So, Taiwan Semiconductor, good numbers there, and definitely looking to increase their presence here in the U.S. Let's actually take a look at the chart here. I know we talk a lot about like AMD, NVIDIA, even Apple and all of that, but does anyone trade TSM? At all? Okay, that answers my question here. TSM is my second largest bag, baby. Okay, well, this is at all-time highs, and this has made a ridiculous run from the Liberation Day panic. 134 and change. We're currently at 232 and change, almost 100 full points in, 2 months? Pretty awesome stuff here. Taiwan Semiconductor is going nowhere. We need these chips. They're expanding here. They're rocking. This, to me, I'll be honest with you. I know there's a lot of fear with some of the chip restrictions, this, that, and the other thing. This, to me, is an add-on weakness. This thing comes to a support level. You're probably okay here, especially if you have a long-term time horizon. If you're playing options, you got to time that right, obviously. But otherwise, this thing's an add-on weakness for me. TSM. Okay, next story here. It's going to be Oracle. You know what? Actually, let's start with the Oracle chart. We've been in kind of a lot of news here. We'll start with the Oracle chart, ticker ORCL. Remember where we were at here. This is another one that's just made an insane move from the Liberation Day low. What do we got here? 118, 119, currently at 235, almost a double here as well, ticker ORCL. We also traded up to this trend line, backed off a little bit, consolidated and went sideways. Is exactly what we want to see. That primed us for the next leg up, that busted us through the trend line. Now it appears that we're starting another sideways consolidation up here. Instead of breaking back down, rather we're holding this level and trading sideways. So to me, this actually makes the trade pretty simple. You can box this out. If we break up out of this box, your swing long there. If we break down, I think the trend line is probably your target. By then, I think the 20 probably catches up with it as well. So that should give you some values to go after. To 20 is currently sitting at 216.26 right now, and that trend line is sitting at about 217, right? 219, sorry. So those will be some targets here for Oracle if it comes down. Reminder, Oracle still overbought, has been overbought really since June 9th. That hasn't stopped it yet. Just keep in mind, it is indeed overbought on the RSI there with 75.6. But let's take a look at the news here. Oracle stock gains as $30 billion AI cloud deal marks, quote, a pivotal moment in the race against rivals. Jefferies calls it a hyperscale leap amid the Trump-backed Stargate push. In a regulatory filing last week, Oracle announced a series of significant cloud service agreements. These agreements, These agreements, including one expected to generate over $30 billion in yearly revenue starting in fiscal year 2028, have been described as a pivotal moment in the company's transition to a hyperscale cloud provider. Analysts at Jefferies, led by Brent Thill, highlighted Oracle as a standout among large-cap software companies. The company is positioned to more than double its remaining performance obligations while also speeding up its overall revenue growth. Analysts view these developments as a major turning point for Oracle's cloud strategy, with the potential to shift investor discussions around backlog growth, the timing of revenue acceleration, and the company's ability to capitalize on large-scale AI demand. Although the deals will not impact revenue in fiscal year 2026, they are expected to improve Oracle's visibility into long-term sales trends and reinforce its position as a hyperscaler capable of landing massive contracts. Earlier in July, Oracle made headlines when it agreed to lease 4.5 gigawatts of computing power to OpenAI, a key player in the AI industry. This lease was part of a $500 billion Stargate project for artificial intelligence data centers and infrastructure announced by President Trump. Oracle's position in the AI industry was further bolstered when it offered deep discounts on its on its AI cloud and database tools in the U.S. government. This strategic move not only strengthened Oracle's relationship with a major client, but also showcased its commitment to becoming a key player in the AI sector. Despite Oracle's successes, it faces stiff competition in the AI infrastructure sector. CoreWeave CEO Michael Intrator acknowledged Oracle as a strong rival in the AI infrastructure sector, emphasizing the importance of CoreWeave's unique selling point in differentiating itself from Oracle. I guess my only question here is, what do you guys like more, or guys and gals, Oracle or CoreWeave? I think I'd probably put my bet on Oracle, but we'll see here. Okay, one more actual news story here to go to. Then I got a couple of things to show you, including a new swing trade on a piece of news yesterday. I definitely want to get the group's opinion on all of that as well. Bitcoin hits historic high above 112K. What's it sitting at now? Futures here, 111,395. So it backed off that high a little bit, but still holding higher there. This had a huge push yesterday. MicroStrategy, Coinbase, a lot of the Bitcoin-linked names going ham. Bitcoin made a historic move above the $112,000 level on Wednesday, sparking a broader market rally. But is it the beginning of a record-breaking rally or a short-lived spike before corrections? The apex cryptocurrency briefly crossed 112 in the afternoon before pulling back to the 111 later in the day. Entrepreneur and cryptocurrency market commentator Anthony Pompilino deemed Bitcoin as the new hurdle rate, suggesting that it has crossed the benchmark required to consider a viable investment. If you can't beat it, you have to buy it. Now, this is something that I've been saying for a long time. I realize I sold some of mine and I didn't get filled on the way back down, but I'll be patient on that. Still have some exposure here. Regarding the outlook, widely followed cryptocurrency analyst and trader Crypto Busy said that once the breakout above 112 resistance is confirmed, 120 will be imminent. 120 will be imminent. We'll see if we get that here. On the other hand, crypto analyst, another cryptocurrency-focused X account with a significant following, predicted a price correction to 100,000 in the next few days. They also warned about a potential 20 to 50% drop in altcoins due to a rise in Bitcoin's dominance, possibly to 71%. Day traders saying alt season is starting soon for crypto. The face melting will be insane. So here we go. Day trader versus crypto analyst, whose handle actually looks like a bot, by the way. I mean, it's not, but it looks like that. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's what you did? I was literally trying to read that. Crypto A4067231. Okay. Anyway, they also, be extra careful longing and buying now. Big B's just straight up calling it FUD. So let me know what you guys think here. I'm obviously still bullish Bitcoin. I will take a sell-off. I will take a correction if it gives me an opportunity to load this lower. So you let me know what you guys think. Okay, let's go back to Pro here. I do want to take a look at a couple of things. We'll get to the MP here. Let me add some of these to the list here. MP, I know we're going to cover. Adit, you want to take a look at Circle? We can absolutely do that. Let's see if I missed anything here. Billy mentioning OKLO. We take a look at that all the time. I'm sure we'll do that. Proc, that'll be during the movers segment. I'm sure we'll look at that. Okay, I don't think I missed anything else here. No, don't think so. Okay. Now, there was another piece of news really quick that broke yesterday during the session. This was long after the show, and I did actually take a swing trade on that. It's going to be a short swing, but I did take a swing trade on that. So it's Google, and we'll go into that here in a sec. The one thing to note here is that we are staring down a potential head and shoulders formation. Perhaps more importantly, we have this parallel channel that we are basically at the high end of the range at. So if I were just estimating this for today, I would say 182.5. Remember that number. 182.5 is about the top end of this area. We are sitting above the 200-day, which is great. We've made a nice recent move off of the 169 level. So it's working here so far for Google, but we're getting to a pretty important point here. Now, the news that actually caused this trade to take place, this was regarding the OpenAI browser yesterday. So OpenAI is planning to release an AI web browser. This was a Reuters exclusive from yesterday. If we go back to the chart and we look inside on the chart, this is when that happened. Okay, so this stock was trading at 178 and change. It had actually traded up to 180 earlier in the day and was just kind of drifting lower. Then we got this news headline about the browser, and the stock really sold off. When I was looking at this, the gears just started turning. And from one of my mentors, I borrowed what he calls these. He calls these things idiot drops. In some cases, a stock just reacts to news, algos, high frequency trading, whatever it is, it will react to news. A lot of the times that initial reaction is wrong. I heard the piece of news. I looked at Google getting absolutely pounded, and I thought to myself, okay, OpenAI is releasing a web browser, and the market's saying that this is negative for Google. Do you buy that, Ryan? And I said, no. As a matter of fact, I don't buy that thesis one bit. There's no way this browser is going to supplant Google Chrome. And then we also find out that the OpenAI browser is actually built on the Chromium engine. So to me, this was an easy one. There's no way that this is really going to kind of unseat anything. I don't buy it at all. Long Google. So ended up taking the trade on this is I ended up taking the July 182.5 calls. So today, we only have 8 days left to expiry. I told you this was going to be a short swing. We'll see how it plays out here. But the 182.5, that comes directly from where we were charting this. That is the resistance area. If we pop above that, giddy up. I ended up buying these calls at $1. We're up 19% on them already. So no chance here. I'm long Google on this. We'll see what happens. I have the risk defined ahead of this trade by buying options. So definitely meets my risk parameters there. Day trader saying, good move, Ryan. You know what? We talked about this in happy hour last night, and it seems that the consensus here was along the same thing. Sometimes that makes me a little bit nervous, but in this case, I feel like I actually got an opportunity when the stock was selling off. You can see that the sell-off was very, very quick. And when I bought it, by the time I bought it, I think Google, was just shy of 176. So I didn't even get near the dead bottom on that pull. Didn't even get near it, still trading higher on those calls. So let me know what you think about that. Let me know if you're on the other side of that. I'd love to hear if you think that Google Chrome is on its way out. I've heard the same thing when Brave came out and Opera and all of these other browsers, and it just has made zero difference at all. Long and strong here on Google. Okay. Jonathan saying, Jeff saying someone should bring Yahoo back. Let's see if we can get a Lycos web crawler mentioned here today. Am I right? Jonathan saying, Ryan, you talk of algos. Find it interesting how market makers can move a buyout right to the dollar within 1 minute of the news. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, so I'm not going to pretend to know. But it is strange, right? It is strange how fast that stuff works. Anyway, okay. That's the Google trade here. Let's see. Was there anything else that along with Netscape, AOL browser? I'll tell you something. Let me know if any of you are the same here. When you hear the old modem connection sound, does it trigger you? Man, oh man, that was some of the worst. That was some of the worst. Okay. Let me know what else you folks want to take a look at. We are expecting 13 here pretty soon. I ran through all of the news. I definitely want to wait for 13 before we hit some of those movers. But let me know. Martin says nostalgia, or Marius, excuse me, says nostalgia. I wish I could say the same. That sound it was triggering. Okay. Back to AOL chat instantly when I hear that modem sound. Oh my God. AOL chat, AOL instant messenger. Those times were simpler back then. Responsibilities were less. Those were fun. Okay. Let me know what else you folks want to take a look at. You know what? I guess we just start with MP here. Let's just do that. It's going to be on the movers list, but this is an actual company here. So what's going on with MP? First of all, this is what the daily chart looks like. Had a nice little downtrend that we snapped out of on super high volume. This was a huge move up to 40. Pulled back a little bit here. Now, bang, 45 here on this. What's going on? MP Materials shares are trading higher after the company announced it has entered into a public-private partnership with the U.S. Department of Defense, consisting of a multi-billion-dollar package of investments and long-term commitments. So, I'm not going to chase this move. There absolutely might be something tradable here. I think at some point this could probably pull back. Maybe we get a headline that does it. Maybe it's just regular trading. Maybe it's regular trading action here. But I'm not going to chase this move. If any of you are thinking about chasing this move, I'd like to hear it. Tell me why you want to. Don't just say, yeah, I'm going to do it, but also tell me why you'd want to do that. I would prefer to wait for a pullback on this news. I had also mentioned in relation to this ticker USAR, this would be a sympathy play on this deal here. Let's take a look at USAR here today. We had actually charted this the last time. You could see we were on an awesome trend line here. We literally just bounced right off of it. Today's news plus 19% in sympathy with MP. We just took out the 50-day moving average. We took out the 200-day moving average, and we're basically right on that 20-day moving average, which is pitched over. So USAR, if you're going to trade something here today based on this news, this one, the sympathy play might actually be a better target. I don't know for sure here, but these two stocks likely to move, likely to be volatile here today. Let's put it that way. I'm not sure how they're actually going to finish on that. Okay. I chase, Brandy says, I chase, but only after a shot of tequila. Props, Brandy. Props, Brandy. The fact that you can even handle tequila is impressive. I call it tequila because that's what it does to me, but shot chaser. Good morning, Brandy. Good to have you. All right, let's welcome 13 on. Let's see how he's doing here today. 13, good morning. Happy Thursday, man. How are you doing here today?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a good night's rest. Ready to tackle this market. Looks like we got a number of movers here this morning going off of the rare earth Pentagon deal.
Yeah. Yep. So I know you just joined here. I just covered MP a little bit, and then the sympathy for USAR. Again, I just want to mention that when we first got news, I think it was a couple of weeks back on some of this stuff, I had mentioned MP is probably a good play on that, and that USAR is a pretty good sympathy play. I ended up not taking any of them because I've got funds tied up in other trades, unfortunately, but here we are. All right, let's go over to the sorry.
One thing about that is we got an opportunity that admittedly I didn't take, but we got an opportunity after we had an easing of tensions in the trade deal that allowed more rare earths to get sent out to us. As soon as we got that news, we started to see MP come down from the 40 area that it was printing, maybe 39 area that was printing. Now we just got this news, so that's taking us well back over 40. So big old flag that's set up as a result of that.
Okay. All right. Real good stuff. Ray here wants to take a look at AMD. So 13, before I change away and go to the movers, since we've got oceans of time here today, I'm going to start with AMD. So we've talked a lot about this. I think you were, let me go back to the comment here. Good morning. Can you look at AMD too? It's absolutely ripping this morning. Yes. And remember, in my morning update, Ray, I covered why that is. AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, shares are trading higher after HSBC upgraded the stock from hold to buy and announced a price target of $200. $200, that's $57 away from where we're at right now. So pretty good target there. If you take a look at the chart, you can see exactly where this is. That would be a pretty constructive move. The other thing to keep in mind here, take a look at the volume shelves that we have. So moves up, even if we do go towards 100, even if we don't quite get to 200, if we move up, you should expect to see back and forth action through this area. The volume shelves here, this is going back to what March of 2024. This is encompassing all of this year and most of last year. And you can see we are pretty much right here. There is a ton of supply overhead. So let's see how difficult it is to maybe move through this range. Nonetheless, though, we've actually talked about some of these chip stocks recently. We've talked about AMD. I know, just even going back to the graphics card snafus with NVIDIA, we've been kind of on AMD as a potential catch-up move. So 13, what do you think of this chart, boss?
Well, I'm already in this, and I like AMD going forward. The $200 price target, that's really great. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'm watching one of the movers just absolutely rip right now. But
we'll go to that next. Don't worry.
Okay. But the nice thing about this, and I was mentioning this a couple of weeks ago, is that this thing was on an absolute tear, getting overbought, and we needed this to cool off a little bit and pull back. We were looking at 133, maybe the 500-day SMA. We ended up getting that. Now we're coming off of that. So to your point that you were making about seeing some more resistance areas on the way up, yeah, I anticipate that's what's going to happen. And one of the earliest ones is going to be that previous high that we had hit. That was about 147.75. So once we get past that, I'd start looking at other levels. And one that stands out to me seems to be about 154, maybe just underneath that 154. But 154 seems to be another area we're going to see some resistance, maybe slightly above 151. But after that, there's some more resistance coming up in the 162 area, and as high up as 174. Beyond after that, then there's a lot less supply, and we could see some wild moves.
Okay. AMD, this is pretty good. Pretty good news here on AMD. This should light it. Goldman Sachs initiates coverage on AMD, price target 140. So I know the HSBC price target here much higher than the Goldman Sachs one, but that's what's going on here. AMD. All right, let's go to the movers. Let's take a look at what's going on. We're going to start here with this first one. Is this the one that's absolutely ripping? Dallas News. No, this is a buyout. Okay, so we actually. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep, that's takeover, no trade there.
All right, takeover, no trade here. Dallas News shares are trading higher after the company announced Hearst will acquire it for $14 per share. We're at $13.54. This is a nice premium, as this thing was $4.50 yesterday. Up 200. I mean, 200% premium, 200+% premium. Giddy up! Congrats if you had it. So next, SAFX. This is XCF Global. I'm glad I got that correct. XCF Global shares are trading higher after the company announced it will invest $1 billion in the U.S. SAF plants. I don't think I've ever traded this stock here before. Stock was $1.50 yesterday, went to $4 today.
That's because it's a new issue.
Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah,
look
sure is.
Look where it came from.
Yeah, did this actually come from a 30 handle?
It came from it came from in the 30s. So and just nowhere but down. Seems to have formed a nice base, and we're coming off of that, off this news, and just kind of looking into the company a little bit. This SAF plant investment, that's synthetic aviation fuel. That's trying to transform the industry. I think they're pioneering this. Might be one of the largest synthetic aviation fuel producers. They also have plans to expand in 2027 and 2028. I couldn't get a float reading on this, but I did see that they have about 150 million shares outstanding. But in doing some Googling, it seems like they do have less than 1 million shares in the float. So this might be easy to trade, but they do have that weight outstanding. So I don't know how much of those are going to end up, or I don't know when those outstanding shares are going to end up, or if a lot of them are restricted units that are going to be converted at some point later. So that's something to keep in mind. Haven't looked that much into this, but just was looking into the move today. It's really just on that announcement of the $1 billion investment in synthetic aviation fuel plants.
Okay, good stuff here. I also, while you were going off there, I checked Know the Float, and it didn't even have any reading from any of the four sources. So I too was unable to get even a estimation there at the float. So okay, good stuff there. Without a float here. I actually didn't see any short interest either. That makes sense with this being a new issue. So there you go. SAFX up 140%.
Yeah, and seeing that we don't have a whole lot of data or previous levels to draw off of, it's it's gonna be what happened on the way down that I'd be looking at. So back in June, we're coming down to the Friday the 13th opening print. I guess we're above that now, but we did come up to some resistance at what was it, 4? Looks like we were came up to 412, 414. That's about where we were seeing a lot of the price action on June 13th. So if we start moving above that, looks like the next area I'd be keeping an eye on is what happened on the 12th. We have a low of 402, a close of 425, and that might be the next spot to watch for, is that 425 close. So we get through that, we could be heading to 6.
Okay, good stuff on that. Next here is going to be BCTM. And day trader, get ready. I hyped day trader. This is his day.
I said this wrong too, but it's BTC. I said
Did I say BCTM?
I wrote this down as BCTM when I first started looking at this, and I was like, that's not right.
Yeah, no. Look, really quickly here. I appreciate that correction. I actually would appreciate if you and then anyone else would make that correction. I know how annoying that is. We're in the position of being on screen here, reading out tickers. We have one job to do. It's to get the damn ticker right, and we will often screw that up. So definitely correct me whenever that happens here. BTCM. What's going on here? Bit mining bets big. The alliteration is just killing me. Bit mining bets big on Solana, plans up to $300 million investment to build long-term crypto treasury. There you go. Solana crypto treasury. That's your headline here. This thing went, this was a huge move. It was actually up a lot more earlier. 235-ish. This thing went to $11. Now it's since come back in. We actually lost the VWAP. Sorry, I got distracted there by CNBC. We lost the VWAP. But we're still holding up here. So holding at about 670 right now. Let's take a quick look around the horn on this one. Short interest here, 0.5%. So 0.50%. That comes on 1.06 days to cover. On average, the stock trades 67,000 shares. Today, we've traded 68 million. Float here is 13 million. So you tell me, what do you got here on BTCM?
Well, I just had a little bit of an internal chuckle when they said the headline said bets big on Solana, because this company actually started as a China-based lottery company. So there is some gambling involved there. Now, this does have the read that I got was 13 million shares that we can trade. The concerning thing about this is that they don't appear to have the money, but I did notice that they had a mixed shelf offering announcement in May for 222 million, and then today they filed a Form 6K that cites that mixed shelf offering. So my thought is that they could be doing an offering as early as today, but they are going to have to raise capital at some point to do that crypto treasury with Solana. So just to keep that out there, we could see some dilution that could happen as early as today. This is a China-based company, even though that their operations are more geared towards the U.S. right now, because they can't mine crypto in China because it's certain illegalities about it. But just if we can find some way to trade this, because it's not really performing too well right now, might perform better after we open. Just keep in mind, if we are going to take any trades in this, we do have that that filing out indicating that they may raise capital in order to do that Solana treasury.
Now, this is moving down towards the 65 EMA there on the 5. I've got that value at 574. I feel like we've seen a number of stocks bounce off this level. So it will be interesting to see if it does find some support there. Also, could see it potentially bouncing off of 530 if it comes back in, but we'll see. We will see on that one. I would actually just kind of wait for this to firm up, maybe, as opposed to trying to catch the knife.
Don't try to even catch it. Remember, this could be just another China pump, because it's a China-based company, and while they don't have operations, per se happening in China right now, it's just another one of these crypto treasury names that they're trying to raise capital so they can do their crypto treasury. And as some folks are pointing out, they think that Solana is more of a meme token. I have one opinion on crypto, and it's all the same, so it doesn't matter. But just keep in mind that if they are going to go through with this, they're going to have to raise capital, because they do not have it right now. And I think that that offering could come as early as today. But if it doesn't, then maybe we're safe. We do the trade, we get out, and we're done with this, and never look at it again.
Have your stops. Have your stops ready. Okay. Let's keep moving here. I've got STKH Stakeholder Foods. This stock was about $1.70 yesterday. We popped above $5, but we have been bleeding all morning here. Stakeholder Foods signs a non-binding MOU to acquire Twine Solutions and binding investment and convertible loan agreements. Twine shareholders investing in providing convertible loans of $1.74 million into Stakeholder Foods at $7 per ADS. So there's your newscast. Let's see if there was anything else with that one. No, that looks like it. So Twine acquisition here. This is moving on that acquisition. Really quick look at the short interest here. As of our last read, there was a substantial jump higher in short interest here. So, and I don't think. Yeah, the float actually increased there. So 19.18% of the float shorted here, 1 day to cover. The average volume of this is 183,000 shares. We traded almost 20 million here today. What do you think on this one? Should, as Ryan says here, should we stick a fork in the stakeholders? That was clever, Ryan. I like that.
No, that was a good one. Yeah, so you know how we've talked several times about memorandums of understanding and the weight that they can carry. This is, it's great because I think the company is in the situation that they need to, reconsider their finances, but because they're not profitable, but it looks like they're still continuing to lose money. And they've been losing money for a very long time. The stock's done nothing really. Had a few bounces on its decline, but it's done nothing but just go south. Should see this move pretty well. It doesn't have a whole lot of shares in the float. My read was 729,000. But this wasn't one I covered too extensively. Just look at the chart, was like, maybe this does turn around, maybe it doesn't. And if it does, we can just use the technicals because I don't know what to make of this on the fundamental side really right now because I didn't spend too much time digging deep into it. But looking at the chart, we did come down almost to the 200 EMA on the 5-minute chart. We are beneath every other indicator that we use, the 9, the 15, the 65, and VWAP. So if we do not see some turning around here pretty soon, and maybe into the open, we'll just focus on some of the other ones that we've been seeing that move here because I think there's going to be plenty of stuff to trade today.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that. Let me actually make this a little bit easier to see here. 15 EMA. Let me actually change that as well. Green.
It is trying to turn around too. So let's see if it can recapture and hold 280. That'll be one of the first things we need to see happen.
Okay, good stuff there. STKH Edward here is asking, hi 13. Where do you get your information on the filings? Well, that from Benzinga Pro, of course.
We get it from Benzinga Pro, and
it's got everything, Edward.
And typically, what I do is I can filter it so I can just look at the SEC filings, and there's particular filings I'm looking for to get information on these movers. Typically, with these movers, I look for those offerings because they have a really low float and they need cash. Chances are they're going to be one of those companies that needs to make an offering to raise capital. So I'm always looking for those kinds of filings. And in the process, I end up finding out a whole bunch of other news. So it's just really a matter of just looking at Benzinga, and they have all their different information on their news feed, their press releases, their SEC filings. And I just take that information, start writing some stuff down that I think is important, and then I present it to you folks.
Absolutely. The one thing 13 didn't mention there is he uses his incredible brain power to sort and analyze some of this stuff as well.
It's on coffee.
The quick answer there, Benzinga Pro. We don't just do this for our health. We do this because this tool is absolutely amazing. All right. Next here is going to be MP. Now, I already covered this a little bit. We're having a breakout since we talked about it. We actually broke the pre-market high. We're now printing HODs here at 48, actually above 48. Just in case you're joining late here, MP Materials shares are trading higher after the company announced that it entered into a public-private partnership with the U.S. Department of Defense, consisting of a multi-billion-dollar package of investments and long-term commitments. So, 13, I broke this down a little bit already, but I'd like to get your opinion on this. Do you have any thoughts on this entire thing?
Well, just looking at I mentioned the chart earlier. This had a really nice bull flag setup. That's it's resolving. The information I was reading is that the Department of Defense is actually purchasing shares of this company and warrants. Is that correct? So they're taking an actual stake in this. And I think that was some of the big news, not just that they're making it, having a partnership, which is also huge, but that the U.S. government's actually purchasing this stock.
Yeah, it's probably says that in here. Hang on a sec.
Yes, there we go.
Yes, here it is. Here it is. It just took me a sec to find it. As part of the agreement, the Department of Defense agreed to purchase $400 million of a newly created series of the company's preferred stock and convertible into shares of the company's common stock, and a warrant permitting the Department of Defense to purchase additional shares of the company's common stock.
Yeah, so I think this still has more room to go. I think we could see 50 plus today. The highs that we got up to in 22 got us all the way up to 60. The actual print, if I can get to it, $60.19. Not sure we'll see that today, but I don't think it'll be too much longer before we could end up seeing that. I do anticipate we'll see some selling as well, but overall, this news is good, and I think is great actually for the company. And I think we're gonna see some good price action out of it.
Okay, good stuff there. MP, also, as mentioned here, we might as well just hit on it since we're here. The other stock trading in sympathy with this, USAR. So you'll see there's no news here because it's running off of the MP news here. I didn't get the right chart there. Boop, boop, boop. Here's USAR. What's that?
A lot of sympathy plays too. UAMI is also getting a lift up 7.5%.
Ah, yes. Here you go.
Yeah, so little, some relationship moves here as well. You got UAMI, you got USAR. Let's see. There's one that Lion always mentions, and for some reason I can't remember it. But
TMC.
Is it T? I don't know if it's TMC.
The metals company. We'll ask him.
Yeah, we'll ask him. But that getting a bounce here too after testing its 20-day SMA.
UUUU.
That's a nuclear name.
Yeah, but it's still this definitely looks like it's moving off of this. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, this is. Okay. Someone else, I'm going to keep going down this list, but I actually just remembered there's someone in the chat here, I can't remember who it was asking about Delta, ticker DAL. The reason I was reminded about this is because Delta, UAL, and AAL, and JetBlue all on here, all of the airlines trading in sympathy with Delta, which reported earnings here today. Delta Airlines shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q2 EPS and sales. You can see Delta moved from like 50 to 57 here. If we take a look at the daily chart, you can see why that's important. We're basically breaking out of the sideways area and trying to go higher here. Now, the one caveat that I will say about this move is that, remember, the bar was extremely low for this quarter. And so, you basically just needed to take a step forward and you were able to get over that bar. And that's what Delta did here. But it is impacting some of the other airlines like AAL, UAL, and JetBlue, all of these trading higher in sympathy with that.
Yeah, their guidance, their EPS guidance, particularly beating the 542 estimate with a 525 to 625 range. I think that's the real big. Their guidance, I think, is a real big driver here. That beating expectations, that this will send it.
Yeah, no question. Okay. So there you go. That's what's going on with Delta, and then also the other connected names. Let me keep rolling off the list here because there's at least one more that I wanted to get to, and here it is. You might have some more on your list. We'll make sure we hit all of them. The next one here is going to be AIRI. This is Air Industries. No, it's not related to Michael Jordan, but it is Air Industries here. Air Industries group shares are trading higher after the company received a $5.4 million contract to supply landing gear steering collar components for U.S. Air Force B-52 aircraft. Those have been in the news recently. Well, actually, the B-2 has. Anyway, Air, this did pop above 550, about 583. It's come back in a little bit. It is beneath the VWAP, but it does look like it firmed up at 4 here. It was at least able to hold that level here today. A quick look around the horn here. Short interest on this, 0.31%. So pretty low there and 1 day to cover. Now, this only trades on average 27,000 shares. So this is one of these where if you decide to trade it today, please make sure that you're trading it on the day when it's hot, because on the day that it's not, you might have trouble getting out of that position, especially depending on how big it is. What do you have here on AIRI?
Well, it looks like it's a good thing they got this contract because they were getting low on cash, and the company, it's on the verge of profitability. So it, could be good, could be still an issue, but it looks like this company's trying to get back into profitability. It's just that their revenue has kind of been stagnant over the past several quarters. It's kind of operating in the same range between 12 and 15 million. So want to see some growth with that one. But aside from that, the steering, landing gear steering collar components. So a thing behind the thing for the B-52. So I guess if we ever hear about B-52 needing maintenance or service or any thing that has any news headlines that has to do with that, maybe we take a look at this one and see what it's doing. But I don't have a whole lot on this except maybe this turns around since it's been selling in the pre-market. It looks like we have it's starting to curl back up and looking at VWAP. But one thing that I'm noticing with the daily chart here is that we did have a really nice blast through the 20, 50, 500, and 200 day SMAs, and we are currently holding above all of them. The closest one that it's trying to hold above is going to be the 200 day SMA at 425. Right beneath that is the 500 at 405. So I would think that if we are going to, find some support here on the way back down, those areas would be the levels I'd be watching for. And it looks like this reversal here that we had about what was this back at 835? That was down at about that 500 day SMA at 405. So definitely keep an eye on those lagging moving averages, because they seem to be providing some support and resistance.
Okay. Really good stuff there on AIRI. Okay, next one here is very, very quick. This is KLG. This is WK Kellogg. This is a takeover. WK Kellogg shares are trading higher following a Wall Street Journal report suggesting Ferraro is nearing a deal to acquire the company. So not done yet, but this did pop. This was actually holding about 26 bucks. We did trade down here today. Mm-hmm. Did we get anything else? Ferraro no, here it is. Okay, so this is what happened. It is official. I beg your pardon. Sorry about that. It wasn't when I first woke up. Ferraro to acquire WK Kellogg for $3.1 billion, paying $23 per share in cash. Here you go. Some overzealous traders popped this higher, it looks like. It's come back into its actual buyout price here. Rip those that bought 25 plus. Yikes. But anyway, this is takeover. There's no trade here today.
Nope. But we can. We did have a interesting discussion about how some of those packaged food producers could see some increased M&A activity as a result of this. So, got a short list, but I don't know if any of them are going to really be, necessarily takeover targets. You want to go over those real quick, or?
Yeah, sure. Before we move away to do ticker time from the group, I do want to cover KLTO because Tracy was saying any thoughts and or levels on this, but we'll do that here in a sec. What are some of the sympathies on that you had from our discussion last night? And this, by the way, is really quickly here, just as a side note here. Tom was saying earlier how great it is that you dig in to all of these things. Yeah, why do you think we bring 13 on here? He's really good at what he does. But
it's rabbit hole stuff.
The other thing here is that with 13 being a moderator for the Happy Hour chat channel, he's actually taken it upon himself to make notes and post those. So even if you miss a happy hour, you'll have access to the notes. And then when we see something serendipitous the day after, 13 can just kind of page through his notes and grab some of that. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, so the ones that we talked about, several companies that could see some of that activity. Some are speculative, some make a little bit more sense. Mondelez is one of them. That's ticker MDLZ. We'd also discussed about how Hershey might be another one, or even Tootsie Roll. So those tickers are HSY and TR. Now, there's no guarantee that these are getting picked up, but these are some of the ones that we're taking a look at. So just thought we'd mention those to see if anybody wants to dive into these, maybe see if there's talks about them getting spinning off part of their business or getting acquired altogether. Just something that we discussed. There's not a trade that we've definitively made here or talked about, but we just started speculating and looking into some of these companies, and those three were some of the ones we had discussed.
Okay. Really good stuff there. That Tootsie Roll chart actually looks pretty good, that daily. All right. KLTO. Tracy, you want to take a look at this? Tracy's what the hell's going on here? Oh, it got broke. I see. Okay, hang on a sec. Oh, it's not on my list there. There. I don't know why. Was I not clicking on the actual letters? I don't know. Okay, anyway, KLTO. Sorry about that. Clotho Neurosciences shares are trading higher after the company announced the FDA has awarded orphan drug status for KLTO 202 for novel gene therapy in amyotrophic lateral sclerosis patients. That's ALS, right?
I believe so. I'm sorry. I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So anyway, this popped up to 220. It's come back in. It did lose the VWAP. Looks like it's sitting around some of these EMAs that we take a look at here. Anyway, Jeff, you're trolling again. Yes, I did say Tootsie Roll. Deal with it. KLTO. There's the news. We've retraced a bunch of that. We're still kind of holding here. Short interest on this 10.05%, and that comes on 1 day to cover. That volume number here, this on average trades 41.8 million. So this is actively traded. Today we've already traded that almost 40.5 million here. Floats 26.55. So what do you think here for some levels? I mean, a couple of levels that I'm looking at here, the bottom of the pre-market range, let's just call it 160. That's probably one of them. 220 going to be one of your upside ranges, but probably have some more resistance perhaps supporting here about 183. What do you got on this 13?
Yeah, this is kind of bouncing around the 65 EMA right now. Could see this going down to the 150 where the 200 EMA is before we get in reversal. But one thing that stuck out to me here looking at the newsfeed is that they filed a Form S earlier this week on Monday. So with this news in mind, I'm just starting to look at this, so I don't know what we're getting here in this prospectus, but I have to think that with this this Form S out here and this news that's causing the stock to rise, they could offer. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna. It's a biotech, so I'm sure they're gonna need cash. Let's take a look. Yeah, they lose money every quarter. They have $500,000 in the bank, and they lose more than that every quarter. Unless there's some other news that I'm not seeing that they have, the cash position has changed, or they raised capital previously, or have some other, liquidity injection from some other deal. I think they're raising capital. So I'd be careful with this one. After you get your trade out of this one, maybe let's just find something else, because I don't want anybody getting caught in an offering.
Okay. Good stuff there. Keep an eye out for some of those offerings. Okay, a couple of more honorable mentions here really quick. Proc, which has been a big winner for our group the last couple of days. This is a little bit higher here in the pre-market, but volume is really muted. So not necessarily sure we get a run like we've seen the last couple of days. And then Shug P, another one from yesterday there.
Yeah.
Shug P, big move up. Actually had a move up in the after hours. We've been kind of bleeding back here today on low volume. So I'd watch the volume on this one if this is something that you want to trade.
Yeah, Matt, I don't know if that's what ALS is. I know that over here in the news feed it says that ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. So I'm assuming that the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is what the ALS was.
Yeah, Julie here's got it. That's what I thought there as well. So okay. Good morning, everybody. Mayhem, Ryan, Eric, Beach Bum, EKS, Roostam, good morning. Big Bear Hug, good morning. Anyone that I missed, hope that you all are having a wonderful morning here today. Okay, do we want to do ticker time? That's all I had for the movers. Yeah. I know we kind of ran through a lot there, but we can take a look at any other stocks that y'all folks want to look at.
Let's do it.
Okay, and then Stan here saying, my question is, should I take some profit now or just let it continue to grow? I'm up 94%. Stan, that's the one thing that we can't do here for you. We can joke around, we can tell dad jokes, we can embarrass ourselves, we can make trades, but we cannot advise what you do with your own cash. We can just tell you what we're doing here today. So sorry. If you do need actual, like you really, really do need help, as 13 and I always say to people, definitely get yourself a fiduciary. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with splitting some of your funds, trading on your own, and having someone with your financial best interest managing some money for you. So. Okay, what stocks do you folks want to take a look at here? Do you have any that you want to take a look at right off the bat, 13?
I want to see what everybody wants to see.
Jacob says, come on, Ryan. I want to see what anyone else wants to see. Okay, I'm going to be disappointed if this is a penny stock, but let's see. No, it isn't. Traderhead Nye, or NYC, excuse me. Traderhead NYC, that's stupid of me. MCHP upgraded by Goldman Sachs here today. So MCHP, this is going to be microchip technology. This has a sweet looking chart that I kind of wish I was in already. This moving off the Liberation Day lows, about $34. This is more than a double at this point. We're actually testing the 500-day moving average right now. This is up 0.8 here in the pre-market. The news here today, Microchip expands space qualified FPGA portfolio with new RT polar fire device qualifications and SoC availability. I gotta be honest with you, I am not sure what all of that means. I'd have to look into that.
Space chips.
Space-ready chips built to survive extreme conditions in satellites and defense systems. That sounds badass. Also, Goldman Sachs initiating coverage with the price target there of 88. Stocks at 75, so good 13 points away right now. Okay, I like the chart here. I want to see what happens at this 500-day. This has obviously been on a pretty huge run. It's actually considered overbought by looking at the RSI here. So, what do you think on this one, 13?
I'm a little encouraged by this for the reason that we did get a golden cross recently. It looks like earlier this week. We haven't seen a crossing from the 50 over the 200 since we had the death cross back in August last year. So that's a nice recovery. Do like that we're coming up to the 500-day SMA and running into some resistance. You can look to the left and see that about this level, there is a lot of consolidation from the time that we lost that 50. That we had that death cross until November of last year. So between August and November, lots of consolidation up in there. It's going to take some volume in order to chew through all that. But I looked at a 5-minute chart here, and you can see that we've, this has been on the move, for the past few days. And we did have, you could probably identify a bit of a trend line there at the top of all that price action, starting from the 8th at 75.75. There you go. So we could end up seeing, at the very least, a test of that trend line, and at the most, a breakout. The one issue I have with this is the float size. This is a little bit of a heavier stock, 461 million shares. So, when I see something that large, I don't know how many big moves we're going to get. It's certainly possible, given that this has done big moves in previous days. I mean, look at what happened on the 8th. But once those moves are in, I think it's going to come down pretty handily. So just got to be careful with this one. But it looks like to me like this is going to break out. Where were we at with the RSI on the daily chart, by the way?
70.82.
So we're a little bit extended there. So I guess I'm on both sides of the issue. Like I could see this breaking out, but I could also see this coming back in a little bit, maybe down to the 20-day SMA around 70. But either way, this daily chart looks pretty good, and as if it's found its bottom, it's turned around, and this looks like it could continue higher once it gets through that consolidation we identified from August to November last year.
Okay, really good stuff there, MCHP. Let me know if that's what you were looking for. Next here, Kevin wants to take a look at SSII. These are new stocks that I'm not familiar with, which I love. Here's SSII. This is SS Innovations, your daily chart here. So it looks like we closed at like 473. We're up just about 7% here in the pre-market. What does this company do? And do we have any news?
Yeah,
we do have news here today. So really quickly, SS Innovations is a commercial stage surgical robotics company focused on transforming patient lives by democratizing access to advanced surgical robotics technologies. This is actually pretty interesting. Did we have one of those? We had a robotics one, I thought.
Is this like iSurge at all?
ISRG?
Yeah.
The ticker?
Yeah. Is this similar to that?
I don't know. This is the first time I've ever looked at this at this company here. I thought I had a watch list for this. I guess I don't. And I don't necessarily want to call this medical devices. Yeah, let me think about that. Anyway, First robotic telesurgery. Interesting. Okay, quick look around the horn here on this one. Pretty much no short interest, 0.24%. That's pretty much nothing there. On average, stock trades 220,000. Today, it's only traded 70,000, so not a huge reaction to this piece of news. If we look at the daily chart, it's kind of at the low end of a back and forth range here. I think you probably have support down here in the 2 handle. I don't really know what to make of this. What say you, 13?
So the news regarding the surgery that it did is a weight loss surgery where they reduced the size of the stomach and rerouted the digestive tract. So my understanding is that this was done, remotely, and it was done in India, but it sounds like it is very, very similar to iSurge, using robotics for different surgeries. I just don't know if iSurge is one that works remotely. So this is interesting. And just like you, I don't know enough about this company, but it certainly sounds like it could be in a similar space with iSurge, and I think I would consider this to be a medical device company.
Oh, okay.
I think that's just where, because it's robotics, and it's over the the internet, I suppose, but I don't. This is not like a biotech drug. I think this is more of just devices. Robotic devices, just conducting surgeries over a distance. So that's kind of where I would place it. 46 million shares in the float, much easier to trade than the last one we were looking at. But let's see here. We're at a bit of a spot where if we lose this level, I don't think we're going to get some good support until maybe around the 480s. So we'll see if that ends up happening. But that's about all I can gather from SSII right now.
Okay, there you go. I appreciate bringing the a newer stock here. I guess we'll watch this here today, see if we get a move on this SSII. Okay. Philip is asking, hey, quick question. Could you explain what options trading is and how it works, and what are some good platforms to do it? I can't tell if you're joking, because that is absolutely not a quick question. I can do my best to try and summarize some of that. Options are a derivative of assets. So you spend less money to gain leverage, which means your profits can be much, much higher. But these contracts are volatile, and you can actually quite easily lose your entire investment. In fact, I believe the stat is 80% of all option contracts end up going to zero. The big difference, Philip, between options and stock that I think you need to be aware of as a newer trader is that stock, you own that stock. It does not decay. If you own an option contract of any kind, no matter what the company is, as it gets closer to that expiry, it decays in price. So there's a lot of really good resources out there. There's no way that we're going to be able to teach you enough of a fundamental understanding of this just over the show here. So definitely check out some of that. Benzinga has an options school if you really want to get schooled. But that's basically what it is. The option prices change based on the underlying asset. That's
I think you should. I was going to say, I think you should come here on Friday and stick around after this show and see what Anne Marie has to say.
That you should absolutely see what Anne Marie has to say, because she literally hands out winning plays on a regular basis. But I'll be quite honest with you, if you don't know what calls and puts are, I'm not sure that multi-leg option trades is where you should start. That's I would say let's start with some of the basics there. Okay. Here, this is a good example. Marius is saying, I spent $100 on wolf puts and made 2,300 in 5 minutes when it dropped. That was probably on that bankruptcy headline. But those could have also gone. I mean, look, the reason you go for options is because you get incredible leverage and you're able to make trades like this. They don't all work out like that, of course. And good morning, Anne Marie. Good morning, Emery. It's good to see you. Okay, what else do we want to take a look at here?
I'm kind of looking at what the chat is saying, and they're talking about SAFX, and it's looking like this could continue to move up. So we'll see what we end up getting here. We got 7 minutes left before we open. Kind of going sideways at the moment after we had that big impulse move all the way up to 414. But if we continue to move up here and recapture 4, I think we could start taking off again.
Okay. And Anne-Marie, by the way, do you have any suggestions on where new traders can really kind of start learning about options and adding tools to their toolboxes? Because I'll be honest, I know we talk sometimes about some of the risk with options, but the reality is it's a great tool to have in there. So just something, help the group out. Okay. I think it was Kathy asking about ticker NAK, Northern Dynasty Minerals. This is one of those small cap stocks here. This had a great day yesterday, drifted up in the after hours, drifted up again here in the pre-market. It's actually up by 9.5% here. On Monday, we had, that was a repeat piece of news, and they had their price target raised by Wainwright. Quick look around the horn on this one. Short interest 3.47% with 1.54 days to cover. That comes on an average volume of about 8 million. Today we traded 2 million here in the pre-market, so not surprised to see us up almost 10% here. If we take a look at the daily chart, look at this. Look at this. We are trading right up to a pretty significant resistance area.
Yep. And we've talked about this one several times. There's goods and bads with this. The good is that this is, I think, one of the largest, if not the largest, deposit for gold and copper. So when we started having Trump talk about how the tariffs on copper and that we're going to try to keep mining and smelting in the United States with that, this would be one of the companies that could benefit from that. Now, here's the problem. They don't have any mining operations going right now. There's no reserves. It's just a deposit. So they don't have a true scale of exactly how much they have to dig out. But even when they do, this is still going to take years to get these mining operations to where they're going to be profitable. Now, maybe there's some red tape that's getting cut in order for this to speed up that process. But this company is still needing to build out all the infrastructure for the mining operation, for the smelting operation. So this is going to be a costly endeavor, and this could be initially great, but I would expect this to come back in because it's not going to have revenue for some time. Eventually, this will be absolutely phenomenal. But one thing that I think needs to happen with this is they need to do a reverse split, because this is a rather large float that they have. I think it's somewhere north of 450 million shares in the float. So I'd like to see this reverse split. That would help it trade even better, I think. And then you have that other issue of just them not being profitable for a while. So this will run, in my opinion, on speculation. But once it we get past that and we start to using the capital that it's trying to raise in order to start those mining operations, I think this will come back in. So just understand that the risk with Northern Dynasty has potential to be phenomenal, but their mining operations are nowhere near being having started.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. By the way, just a couple of things to clean up here. Kevin saying, isn't NAC a Chinese company based in Hong Kong? No, it's a U.S. company. The Pebble Project, its core asset is the Pebble Project located in Alaska, United States. So no, this one is not a Chinese company. I know what you're talking about, though. I think there is one that has a similar ticker that we've actually looked at on the show. And then the other thing here, real quick, two more things here. Jeff is saying, would Paul join us at the opening bell someday? So I can't promise that he joins us at the opening bell. Quick reminder here, we do have, Paul Meeks has his own show on this channel right after Anne-Marie and I on Tuesday called Tech Tune Up. He's awesome. He's a phenomenal resource, like you were saying earlier, Jeff. So definitely check that out. We've had him as a guest on this show. I don't know if his availability allows him to be here around the opening bell, but I can reach out to my producer and maybe bring him back on. I love Paul. I'd be happy to do that. One of the other things here, Anne-Marie, I guess let's just discuss this now because I kind of like this idea. EKS was saying, Anne-Marie would love a show on a TOS scanner and some useful scan settings, especially to find value stocks set up with a MACD crossover. So that's pretty specific. Anne-Marie, I'll say this. I'll just throw this out here right now. F it, we'll do it live. If you ever wanted to do this on one of our Tuesday and Friday appearances, I actually actually think this would be a net benefit to more than just a handful of people. So if that's something that interests you and you want to prepare for, let's plan that. Let's actually do that. I think that's a great idea.
Lion, that's going to be a catalyst. So Lion bringing up a good point here about NAK and the permit. So that's one of the things that's happening right now is they're negotiating with the EPA after they, with the last administration, they shot down the permit to start mining operations. But it seems like that's going to turn around here. But the results of that EPA negotiation, that's going to be a catalyst for this, 100% in my opinion. But the problem is, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier, it doesn't matter if they get the permit, doesn't matter how much they know they have in the earth. It is expensive to extract this out and process it. And they are nowhere near being able to do that right now. It is a costly endeavor. It's going to take a while to get that up and running. But once it does, this will be a very, very profitable company. That's my opinion. But what's undeniable is that they do not have those operations going yet. And it will take some time and a lot of money in order for them to get going.
Okay, really good stuff there. We are less than a minute until we open here. Let me flip over to the main workspace. Get prepared for this.
Here we go.
And here we go. I'm sorry. That's like one of my favorite. That movie, Dark Knight, is so good. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Okay, what do we got here? BTCM. That is actually bouncing a little bit here.
And I think we're waiting to see what happens with SAFX. I think everybody was kind of on this as being a potential mover here. I mean, not a potential mover, but one of the movers that could start to run. Let's see what we get. And we're open. And it's initially going lower, but let's see what we end up getting here. Meanwhile, STKH, that just bounced off its 200 EMA on the 5-minute, trying to recapture some of those levels. AIRI down out of the gate initially. BTCM, that leaking out of the open here, might find some support around 6, where the 65 EMA is. What else do we got? Sugar P pop, says Jacob.
It did, popped right out of the open to the VWAP, peaked above and came back in a little bit though.
See if I can pull that up here, because we were trading that one yesterday and that was a lot of fun.
By the way, one thing I just wanted to mention here, just FYI, word of warning here real quick. I'm actually going to go back to my bigger chart here. This won't take long, I promise. I had mentioned Ideal Power. This is one of my small cap, very thin swings. I had mentioned this. What happened here? There we go. I had mentioned this the other day, just kind of what was going on. It can't remember if it had news or something like that. Anyway, I had mentioned it here, and I mentioned this at about $4.20 when we were on here, and I said, be careful on this. Since then, the stock has actually gone on a huge move. It really, really held this $4 bottom. This is actually a pretty sweet looking double bottom, and we've traded up, consolidated, and traded up again and broke through. Now, I do have my eyes set on this 611 here, but I don't know if anything's going on here. It did 15% yesterday. It did like 11% the day before. To me, it feels like somebody figured out something that's going on here. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what it is. The volume is really low because it's a very thin name, but it's moved up like $1.60 in just a week or so. And I'm kind of wondering if we hear something in the next month or two that somebody else is trying to get ahead of. Just like my gut talking here, this is totally risky. I have no information on whether or not that's happening. I've been waiting on this stock for a while. I think there's a big boom coming at some point, but I can't tell you when that is. Just these last couple of days, they get the little guy in the stomach going there.
All right, so MCHP, this popped over that trend line that we drew earlier. Not really, moving on a lot of volume, but we did get the price action we're looking for. SSII, this just leaked into the open, and it continues to leak. Looks like it's not halted, but it's just not getting any price action right now. Sugar P popped up over its VWAP, went as high as 164. It looks like 163 before it came in. Have a large seller here at 159. We got Tesla moving.
Yeah, we have Tesla moving when we have it moving on news. And apparently this happened this morning. Yeah, this happened, I guess, early this morning on an X post. Elon Musk, or Tesla shares are trading higher after Elon Musk announced that Grok is coming to Tesla vehicles by next week at the latest. My first knee-jerk reaction question is, what the hell is Grok going to do for the car?
Yeah, I was just laughing because, given the recent headlines with Grok, I just had some.
Exactly. I'm like, this might not be the best time for that. Just say, but the stock's liking it. We recaptured 300 today on this impulse move, so some constructive there.
Yep, looks like we're getting some good move here with the Stakeholder Foods stock after we had a complete meltdown in the pre-market here after hitting the highs. We did rebound off the 200 EMA. Recapture some highs, went as high as the 65 EMA, now getting a pull here. Looks like SAFX, that's just doing nothing but going down. Waiting to see if we're going to get any kind of support. Maybe we get it at 235. We'll have to wait and see it. But right now, this thing is just knifing.
The chat, as per usual, never disappoints around these parts here. I ask, what the hell's Grok going to do for the car? And I get a bunch of great answers here. Number one, Martin says it's going to keep me company. Thinking about it says, yeah, you can talk to Grok during those long trips. Jeff saying it will get you further into the matrix, which I find rather amusing. Anyway. Funny stuff there. Funny stuff from the group, as always. How's Shug P doing? Right to that VWAP, still holding beneath it. Google lowered. Damn, I was hoping I would get a quick pop on that. We'll see. Tesla's still moving higher. Apple's moving higher. Hello Alto coming in a little bit.
Yeah, Shug P running into some issues with its VWAP. Came back beneath it, coming in a little bit.
Oh, it's... Guess what? Some more breaking news here. It's Moo Dang's birthday. Remember that from last year? Moo Dang is 1 today. The pygmy hippo. 13's like, I don't care, man. Talk to me about stocks. Don't talk to me about hippopotamus.
No, we have plenty of whales in this market. And
I'm sorry, well done.
Whales and bears and bulls. We have plenty of animals. I mean,
FCX, this has been moving recently with some of those copper tariff headlines here. FCX, This popped in the pre-market, but looks like it's round tripping that move.
Yeah, after that, so we had that big move all the way up to almost $50. Came back in, I guess, because all those calls had expired or whatever. Skybound,
I like that name. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Any thoughts on SBET? We discussed this yesterday, and it drew down before making a good run back to the upside, especially during the aftermarket. Indeed, this actually traded down when the volume was present. When the volume dried up, this started lifting again. That's kind of what I see from this. The thing for me is that this has already made its huge run, in my opinion. I know that this had some Tom Lee backing or some Tom Lee tie-ins on this. So
he made a post
to this morning.
No. That's why it was getting a lift, because he made a post.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that this is really great. The 1750 level, very, very key. We're pretty much at that right now. My thought. You're asking for the thoughts here. My thought is that the easy money has already been made on this name. And I think at this point, the risk outweighs the potential reward. I said that on Proc, and it went from $1.20 to $5. So we can always be wrong about some of these things, but that would be my thoughts on this.
I would like to see this recapture and hold above its 50-day SMA. If it can't do that and we start to drift lower, I would like to see support kick in where its 500-day SMA is. That's at about 14.15. So those would be what I'd be looking for. If we do get that support from the 500-day SMA, that might be a good spot to start a new trade. But at the same time, this is one of those crypto treasury names, and I don't have the greatest confidence in a lot of these, because we're getting to see a whole bunch of them, and I don't know which ones are great and which ones aren't. So just kind of telling you what I'm seeing with the technicals at this point. And it looks like we do need to recapture that 50-day SMA if we're going to see any more upside. All right. So looking around at these names, Shug P got a nasty drop after we popped over the VWAP. SSII, that seems to have found some support down around 445. What's up?
My cursor was in a spot that I did not expect.
MCHP, the one that we drew that trend line for, it's still holding above the trend line, but this thing is not trading on a whole lot of volume.
Amy continuing to go. That was a really good sympathy mention, 13. This actually has popped out of the open here now.
Excellent.
In fact, all of these plays look like they keep going. U is continuing to go here. USAR.
Me.
Oh, Caddyshack is so good. USAR pulling back a little bit here. Let's see on MP. How are we doing on MP?
Getting asked if MP has a cup with handle. Are we talking about a 5-minute chart or a daily? I mean, when it comes to cup and handles, one thing I would like to see is a retest or near retest of the other side of the cup. And if we're looking at MP on a daily, that would probably be the other side. I'd kind of consider up in the 60 area before we get a cup with handle. So, I mean, we're getting they got this huge move up. I would say this is some profit taking. There's definitely people in this thing that go, oh wow, thank you very much, and just sell into this move. But support, if we do continue to sell, it looks like support comes in at about close to 40, maybe just beneath that.
It looks like you have some profit taking going on here on MP.
Yeah.
It is trying to recapture the VWAP as we speak.
Yeah,
Lion, good morning, mentioning that AMD is looking good. AMD, we covered that here today. That had an upgrade here. HSBC bringing that price target to 200. AMD, I mean, I'll tell you what, that's still 56 points away. AMD, great pre-market here, continues out of the open.
It looks like MCHP is back above its VWAP, starting to move a little bit. But I got to reiterate every time the volume on this is just not great. Wish we had some more volume in that one.
Ryan, come on,
Ryan.
The rhyme got me there. I got it. Lion is asking, Ryan, did you get some XRP? No, I had that order out for XRP. It never dropped to it. It never filled. It's run away. I'll be patient on that. Jeff is saying, Ryan, you should golf Central Oregon or certain parts of Idaho. Idaho's on my list of places that I may move to in the future. I know 100% I would not be disappointed. I was watching CNBC today, and Julia Borston was doing an interview. Shout out, Julia, and had the Idaho mountains as the background. It's one of the most spectacular shots I've seen in a long time. I have no doubt that I would absolutely enjoy that.
Just looking around the market here, not a great sign here for Rocket Mortgage, losing the 200-day SMA and kind of forming a bit of a head and shoulders. Almost a Batman head and shoulders pattern.
Oh, man. And Rocket is smoked today. Down 4.2. Did we get that? Because at noon, we get the 15-year and the 30-year mortgage rate. I wonder if that's going to have an impact on this.
I do not know. Amy, still pushing higher. Shug P, back above its 65 EMA, but trying to recapture its VWAP. MCHP, that's still holding above its VWAP. Stakeholder Foods, that's making some lower prints. No turnaround quite yet for SAFX.
Voyager ripping here. About effing time, man. About effing time. Voyager popping here. Let me see if there's any news on this. 4.6%. This has been one of the better days since it IPO'd. I don't know if this is moving on the new transportation secretary, but in any case. Okay, good morning, Jay. So you guys had mentioned SoFi. Is that ripping here today? Yep.
Yes, it is.
SoFi ripping again out of the gate here. Markets in Mayhem. Welcome back. Watching Etsy, AEHR, and ASPI and CNK. Now, AEHR, didn't they recently get whacked on earnings? I'm pretty sure that they did. Indeed. Yesterday, a little bit of a bounce back. Today, closing that gap even more. You think we print 15 here? That would be something.
Possible, yeah.
And
then we can resume lower after we fill that gap. No, I'm just kidding. No, this is getting pretty close to a golden cross. The 50 is approaching the 200. We did get a hold above the 20-day SMA, so that's encouraging. We can certainly fill this gap here. But after we do fill that gap, I'd expect at the very least a little bit of selling, but certainly looks like we could continue higher after that.
Okay, really good stuff there.
I was just looking at another one. So Voyager, I need to look and see what the news here is. We do have that Sean Duffy as interim NASA chief.
Yeah, that's the only thing I saw. I don't know that would make it move higher, though.
Yeah, I just I guess the only thing where I would start with this is what's the relationship between Duffy and Musk or anybody over at SpaceX. I guess that would be where I'd start looking.
Okay.
Because Voyager is dependent upon that Starship.
Right. To get Starlab up there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Good stuff here. You guys are also mentioning MP. You guys, I promised you a brand new guest, and I was kind of...
All right.
I was kind of being cheeky about it. iPower, by the way, huge volume. Wait a sec. Let me just check this real quick, and then we'll go to because I just got to get this out of the way. Pretty big volume stick there. And yes, we did pop above the 200. Please close above the 200. That would be sweet. Okay. Anyway, I promised you folks a new guest here. You might know him because he's here and he's also on X. It is my pleasure to bring on Markets and Mayhem. Markets, how are you here today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Ryan?
We're doing great, man. I absolutely love this. Thanks very much for taking time out of your day to join us here. Got to be honest with you, some of the things that you find on a regular basis are phenomenal. Folks, if you don't follow Markets and Mayhem on X, you should. Great X account with a lot of really good information. What do you got here for us this morning? What are you seeing this morning?
First of all, very kind of you. I really appreciate the intro. So looking at Etsy, AEHR, ASPI, and CNK, these are some of the things that came up on my scan that I put in through Benzinga Pro. So, giving you guys a shout out there for some of the awesome tools that you have. And then I'm just watching how they're trading in Bookmap here. A lot of them had some pretty impressive pops off the open. So that's what has me focusing on them. And then in the future space, we talked about this yesterday at happy hour. I'm continuing to watch Palladium. It's up, I think, about 4% today, continuing that rounded bottom reversal that we've been talking about. And I think there's still room higher on this and some of the beneficiaries in the space, like SBSW.
And yeah, this was a great quote. We talked about PALL yesterday. I woke up this morning and I saw the Palladium price and I was like, how on earth did you time that so well? That was perfect. Sylvain Stillwater, right? That was SBSW was the other one that you had on that? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, that also popping here today.
That whole PGM space is on fire, and I think there is some room higher. And I'm looking at Platinum's chart, like we talked about, thinking that Palladium can catch up. And if it really does have the kind of move that's implied, we could see Palladium with a 2 handle in the future.
Okay. Platinum's little brother making a big move. That would be something. So do you prefer ETFs for this, or do you actually prefer individual names like SBSW?
So I actually prefer futures contracts for playing Palladium, for example. I know that they're chunkier in terms of the amount of liquidity one has to allocate, so it's not for everyone's portfolio. But on the other side of it, there's tax advantages. There's no wash sale restrictions for one. And secondly, you get 60-40 treatment. But the other part of it is the risk management component. If you think about it, with an ETF, it's only really liquid for 6.5 hours a day. That doesn't give you the ability to manage the risk the same way you can overnight with futures trading about 23 hours a day. So if Palladium does something really horrible overnight, the ETF, you could get hurt really bad by the time your stop triggers. Meanwhile, with the futures, you could have that stop trigger overnight or your take profit on the other side of it to realize those gains happen overnight. So for me, I like all three of those dynamics put together. That puts me more in the futures camp. And then, there's even sector futures now. So you can even play sectors via futures as well, which is pretty darn cool.
How does that? Is it good? I've actually never done that.
I will say that for swing trades, it's very good. For day trading, it leaves something to be desired because it's not quite as liquid as the ETFs that would be their counterparts.
Okay, cool. Do you have anything like unusual options that you've seen here today? Shout out to you using the Benzinga Pro scanner for that. I also do that. Anything catch your eye here this morning?
Let's take a look here.
Getting a nice move in Cleveland Cliffs right now.
Palantir popping as well. Oh my God, yes. Cliff.
And with all this,
nice. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. With all what's going on with these tariffs on different industrial metals and otherwise, I think there is some room for these things to move higher. In the short term, you're going to have producers enjoy better margins in the U.S. if they're not having to bring things into the country. So there's definitely that to think about.
Yeah, no question.
And so far, not seeing a lot of unusual options activity today that has my attention, but usually I've noticed it takes a little while for things to really get going. So maybe the next 10, 20 minutes, we'll start to see some of those things coming in. In fact, right now I'm seeing just a sweep coming through for grab. So it's almost as if Benzinga Pro is listening to me and saying, is there something we can give you? So grab, we're seeing a sweep. It's just about 5 cents out of the money, targeting the fives with just over $250,000 of premium.
Okay, that is significant. And yeah, I figure we probably wouldn't have a whole lot of those unusual options right around the bell. That might take a good half hour to get in there. Eric's asking, Ryan, did you watch the Ondas investor presentation yesterday? Yes, I watched part of it. I actually had meetings that I had to attend. And I had to lead one of them, so I couldn't even really watch it at all at that point. I'm still looking for a replay here. They did cover a lot of things about kind of future growth and how they're going to try and make everything more efficient to boost some of their revenue numbers. The one thing that I'll say about those presentations, that's always going to be a rosy, positive outlook. Let's see it actually be reflected through some of the earnings reports. That will give us some more confidence to drive the stock higher.
Cleveland Cliffs, we have both the we have the 200 EMA on the daily chart and the 200 day SMA also in the right in the same area, 990, 995. It looks like we're headed up toward that direction. So once we get there, could see some sellers start to step in and take profit.
And I noticed take a look.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say I noticed that PROC, one of those movers that we had looked at the last couple of days. I was on the scanner here, but that might have turned around. What did you have?
I was just looking at CLF, and we do have a bit of a wall of calls between 9 and 10 on those strikes. So that's something else to pay attention to. It looks like we could wall hop over those, and that would be pretty bullish for the stock.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And if we do get over that 200-day SMA, we have a little bit of consolidation to work through, but no big resistance areas, at least from what I can see, until about 11. What do you got there, man?
Yeah, I'm looking similarly, just really watching the option structure on this, because I'm seeing the next area of decent resistance overhead implied by calls would be about $15.
Okay.
So if we clear 10, there's not a lot of interest till 15. And I imagine that if we clear 10, you're going to see folks rolling up. And that's what I really like to watch in the options chain, is to see if that positioning, you see some taking of profits, but then rolling those positions higher. Because to me, that's participants expressing that they continue to have confidence of further upside. So that's one of the big things to watch in some of these breakouts. And the chart looks absolutely beautiful here for a bottom pattern. So I want to see that confidence expressed in options to signify that, some of the bigger desks out there see the same thing.
And I'll tell you something else. If you get that move above 10, that will actually be a close. Well, if we close above 10, and that'll be a close above the 200-day, that actually might bring even more interest in this.
Yes. 100%.
And Lion here saying 15-16 next big target after that. That's exactly what you had just said. That would actually clear the 500-day as well.
Yep. Right into that consolidation from July last year, into a lot of consolidation from previous. Looking to the left now. 16 I have marked off here, but that just is a technical level from previous price action. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a hit at 916 CLF right now. Volume starting to slow down.
S&P futures pulled off of that high that it made here this morning. We actually just went negative here, down 1/10.
And for S&P, if you're watching those folks, there's a confluence of potential support just below price. We have Key 5 plus, that's a call-driven options potential support level at 6295.50, and then just below it, a dynamic pivot at 6293.50. So that area, I would expect you're going to get some reaction function there. You could see there was some pre-market and overnight down there as well.
Yeah, I see that. I'm looking at the ES chart here. I actually have the person's pivot right at 6293.83. So right in that exact same area.
And interesting to note, if you look at the larger desks and the way they're trading SPX, the cash index for the same, they're rolling up their exposure to 6,500. So I think once we start to work through this overbought condition that we can see on the New York Stock Exchange that's caused us this kind of chop sideways for a bit, we do have some of those larger desks, again, rolling positions higher, expressing confidence, looking for those higher highs as we get into the later part of this year.
Looks like Shug P trying to move away from the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. Volume needs to be better.
MP got bought back above its VWAP. That might be making a move towards that $50 level that we're still kind of waiting for.
And going back to CLF for a second, there's 109,000 shares on offer at $10. So that's likely to be an area of both significant interest, but also some resistance. And the way I like to look at those large bid or offer zones is how does price react? So if we get up through there, up to that area, and we reject hard, that's going to give you a sense through auction theory that there's just not the demand to push through. But if you do get up to that area and buyers absorb those offers and they continue to push higher, that's giving you a sense that there's a lot more room overhead, and that would clear that call wall as well.
Okay. See if Cleveland Cliffs keeps pushing here. What else do you guys got out there? I don't have anything new yet.
Looks like. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just mentioning I was keeping an eye on the directional ETFs for the Qs. Not really setting up quite yet. We like to see some at least $1 extension away from both of these, but not anywhere near that quite yet.
And ALB is on the move. I know we're talking a little bit about lithium plays yesterday. Yeah. This one's getting a pretty big surge of interest here, up about 4.5%. And when I'm looking at it on Bookmap, I just see a lot of aggressive buy deltas. So that's giving me a sense that there are some institutional desks coming in and sweeping these offers. The next big offer zone on ALB is between 74.80 and 75.
I got the 200 on ALB at 80. If we take a look at the daily chart here, it has really struggled to get above this, going all the way back to March of 2023. So a move above the 200-day and a close above that also might bring some more attention here.
And yeah, on that same one, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and finish your thought.
Oh, I was just going to say on that same one, big call wall, ALB, the big area of interest is going to be around $80.
Oh, yeah. That level stands out like a sore thumb too.
Sure does.
Especially with the 200 there. And, we were talking about ALB yesterday. It wasn't on the idea of batteries or even the rare earth movement that we're getting today. It was on, fusion reactors, nuclear fusion reactors, not fission like, Oklo and the quadruple U and everything runs on, but the opposite, the other side of that, we're combining atoms, hydrogen isotopes. One of the biggest, most important materials that you need in order for that to develop tritium as part of that process is lithium. Now, while Albemarle isn't necessarily producing lithium for those types of reactors, it's definitely well positioned to do that if the technology matures to where we're seeing that become a more widely used source of power. And Google already investing and buying into that is kind of indicating that nuclear fusion is going to be energy of the future, one of them.
Etsy starting to make a push here, just cleared a pretty big offer zone around 56. Looks like it's making a new high for regular hours trading here, seeing some more volume coming into this one.
Indeed, that's actually at the highs here. That's a nice move out of the open here on Etsy. What do you have another level higher from where we're at right here?
Let's take a look here. So in terms of options, we're looking at Looks like 55 is actually a really big level. So clearing that is a very good sign. And then in terms of the order book structure, about 58.50 is the next really big offer zone on Etsy. Below that, 57.50 and 57 smaller offer zones. But what I like in the way that we cleared 56 is it was a really aggressive buy side delta. That's kind of that same idea that auction theory, we're seeing buyers say clearly we've got the demand to push this even higher from here with the way this is trading so far.
That recent Golden Cross in Etsy is the first time we had that 50 and 200 interact since April of 2023. That's a pretty bullish signal.
And this thing is a bit of a squeeze candidate. It's got about 23% of its float short here. It doesn't have an incredibly big float, about 100 million shares. And so with about a quarter of its float short, just shy of that, average volume of 5 million, this thing could take almost 2 weeks to clear a squeeze. And it looks like that process is possibly beginning here with the way it's breaking out.
Real quick here, I didn't mention this, but we did get the U.S. Initial jobless claims earlier. That was 227 versus the 236 estimate. I just noticed here, NASDAQ just hammering the lows here. Down, it's only down about 0.5%, but it is leading the way down. Dow, on the other hand, near the highs. Mayhem had a question here from Anne Marie. Ask him what he saw this morning in the oil contracts today.
It was really yesterday that we saw an unusual amount of aggression. And I think it was even Tuesday that we saw this happening as well. And XOP, XLE, and some of the underlying oil and gas stocks driving this move. And so for me, that was really a vote of confidence in the sector. And I've seen a lot over the last couple of years where the sector will lead the actual commodity. So for me, what's got me excited is the amount of interest coming into these oil producers. I think they're calling OPEC Plus's bluff that they can't reach that production ceiling. That's bullish for U.S. oil and gas. And then we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but eventually Trump has to refill the SPR. That's constructive. We're in peak travel season. That's constructive. I think oil's been a little bit mispriced. So I'm bullish on that space. And in energy as an area to invest in or trade is one of the cheapest parts, if not the cheapest part of the S&P.
Really good stuff there. Oil down here 2%, although it is moving up off the lows. About $67 on the crude futures there.
And XOP just kind of coming back down below that 200. I'd really want to see it close the week above that to continue that same vote of confidence I was talking about. And then broadly zooming out a little bit, for one of the reasons that the NASDAQ is moving us lower, there's a lot of weakness in the software space, looking at Salesforce, ServiceNow, Intuit, Adobe, but also some of the bigger cap tech like Microsoft, Apple, Google, Meta, not really catching much of a bid today.
Nope. Same thing with Palo Alto. That's just nothing but a waterfall. Netflix at the lows. I know some of those smaller stocks like NBIS that we have traded on the AI names, that is getting pounded right now at the lows. A lot of weakness in some of those tech names. Also Tesla, I know that's had a huge rip out of the open. This has actually turned around quite a bit as well.
Another one of those candles you don't like to see, where it has a nice pop up to a certain resistance area and then it just comes back in. At least we're above 300 again.
And if you're trading NQ, looking for levels to watch today as to where this thing may either base or make a decision to continue moving lower with some more velocity, I'm looking at 2288.5. So 22,888.5 is the volatility trigger. This is derived from NDX index options, converted to NQ front month September futures levels. And these levels tend to be pretty important to watch. They're derived from looking at all the contracts, all expiries. And so if we do push to that level and we break below it and we build some acceptance for 5 or 10 minutes below it, we could get some chunky continuation. What that vol trigger really means is this is a really big level of options exposure on both sides of the chain. And as we move lower, you get some room for continuation. By the way, that changes how market makers are going to handle those contracts they have.
Okay. God, really good stuff. Again, Joe mentioning Palantir's dropping fast. That's probably near its low as well. I have different settings than you on my option scanner here, but I'm seeing more grab calls. These are the 5 calls that expire August 1st. Looks like 1,100 of those were purchased. It's small by just actual trade value there, but looks like maybe some more 5 calls on grab.
TQQQ was getting pretty extended away from its VWAP, moved over $1 away in the price compared to the VWAP. I don't think that's extended enough, but we could start to see some reversal happening here with the TQQQ. Might still go lower though, because we do want to see more of a range of 125 to 150 for this trade to work better.
Well, if I'll tell you what, if the Qs keep pulling, you're going to have a setup there in TQQQ on a return to the VWAP. And the longer it takes, the better it is.
And
still at the lows.
Cleveland Cliffs kind of ignoring the broader market. I love seeing that relative strength here, continuing to just incrementally make new session highs.
Still dashing for that $10 level that we talked about earlier.
And it's interesting. That can be a magnet. If you get up there and you have that much liquidity, it can be magnetic. Sorry, go ahead, 13.
Oh, it's okay. The one we were mentioning earlier, AIRI, Air Industries, that still recovering off of the 200 EMA bounce on the 5-minute, made it through at 65 EMA. Got to work through this next area of supply around 430, but this looking like it's recovering. VWAP I have at 472, so still a ways away from that as well, but it certainly looks like this is on the recovery.
And check out AEHR. That one also hitting new session highs here. We talked about that one a little bit earlier, recovering and now challenging an offer zone around 15, about 5,000 shares on offer. A lot of aggressive buy-side delta in this. And for me, I love seeing relative strength. When the market is rolling over and you've got these names moving higher, that's generally a good sign that you're going to see some continuation, because there's certainly some conviction here.
Do you see like an $18 call wall? It looks like $18 has been a bit of a historic resistance area for this stock, AEHR?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me take a look real quick here. And for this one, the big level is going to be about 17. So very close to that level that you're talking about, where there is a lot of interest in calls overhead on AEHR.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go CLF, says Lion.
Thinking about it, didn't you say you bought this earnings dip on AEHR? This is pretty much a round trip. There's your 15 print. This is right where it was at before it fell out from earnings.
New high CLF.
Doesn't want to stop.
This. Nope, not at all. No chill.
I think we're going to get that test at 10 and not too long.
And Glenn here was saying earlier, the CLF weekly suggests 1035 as a possible level there. Buffalo by Bicycle, earnings are always brutal for CLF. We'll see if that carries through here. MP, by the way, this actually looks like this might try and recapture its VWAP for its next move higher.
One of the other movers from this morning, STKH, that's still recovering, coming off its 200 EMA, looking for a recapture of the 65 EMA. Let's see what else we got here.
Mayhem, did any of you, maybe you didn't look at this prior, but did any of those call walls or levels there on your options scanning show anything for MP? Like, did anything stand out on that?
That's a good question. Let me just take a quick look real quick, because I can look at some of the historic and current exposure. So yeah, actually, there's a great deal of interest at 50. That's where the next wall of calls on this thing is. It just hopped over the 40 call wall, which was the big level prior to today. So there's a pretty chunky amount of exposure just at that 50 handle, and that existed prior to today's trading.
Okay, and it looked like it already tried to test that here in the pre-market. It did fall off here, but watch on a recapture there. You might actually have room up to 50. That's good. Thank you. That's good stuff.
Another mover here, FTRE. FTRE hitting some new session highs here on some pretty strong volume.
What does this company do?
Yeah, Forterra or Fortria, excuse me.
Looks like a biotech of some kind, I think.
Yeah, I'm just looking it up here. I'm just finding these things on scans, but clinical development and commercialization services. And looks like this thing has been absolutely beaten down. and finally forming a long-term potential bottom here. So I do like watching this breakout. I'd love to see it close above the 2050 kind of confluence area where it's seeing some resistance here.
It looks like it is a squeeze with 25% of the float shorted over 5 days to cover. That's what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of the scans that I'm putting out today are squeeze driven.
Excellent. Okay. Excellent.
And for the audience out there, one of the reasons we really like looking at squeezes right now, if you look at the way that these things set up, it's often going to be, if not 99% of the time, it's these long short hedge funds. The way they run their books is they get really long stuff they're excited about that is improving fundamentals, like the Mag 7 or at least the Mag 5, and then they go on the other side of it and they try to short stocks where they feel like the fundamentals are decaying and the momentum is on the wrong side of it. And that's how they manage their books. So they're really trying to extend their long leverage by having a lot of short positions that offset it. That's the idea. The problem with that is that you're not matching factors. So to go long mega cap growth and to go short small cap growth, you're going to have moves that diverge. Now, add some color to that. Gross leverage in hedge funds right now is at historic highs, but net leverage is pretty tame. So what that tells you is they are really, really short and concentrated in a lot of these names that are sort of hedge fund hotel favorites on the short side. So put it simply, 'tis the season to be squeezing.
I love that. Smash up the like for our guy Markets and Mayhem here. 'Tis the season to be squeezing. That's a shirt right there.
Love it.
That is absolutely a t-shirt idea right there. Stock busting through the absolutely.
Let's do it.
Steve Cawthorn mentioned that TQQQ got to 150. Now it's going to probably be different depending on what broker you use for VWAP. Mine didn't quite get to 150, but it did get well over $1. I think, let's see here, got as low as 83.15. My VWAP is 84.23, so just a little bit more than $1 here, but we are starting to turn around here. So so far, that trade is working out. Thank you for that mention there, Steve.
You guys, a couple of you are mentioning Hertz. HTZ, this is up 17%. Would we get another bankruptcy headline? What's going on with this? It's just nothing. I don't have anything here. I guess
that chart looks really nice, though.
And I guess Avis, ticker CAR, is running here today. Maybe it's sympathy on that. Do you have any levels on this chart for Hertz? Actually, wow, you're right. This chart does look great.
Right? Let's take a look at the option structure, but the chart itself are breaking above all those major moving averages recently. We just get this push out of what looks like a sort of like a really extended bull flag now finally breaking out. And on Hertz, the level of interest that a lot of the call buyers had was around $7. So we're clearing that with a wall hop today, which is bullish too.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be some consolidation between 8 and 9. That's going to take a little bit more volume to get through, but once we do get through that, could see this run up into the 10s. It does. So the formation that we are getting a bit of a rounding bottom here over a year or two, but since April we had this blast off. Seems like we're going to get a scallop more out of this, which means we're going to see this go beyond 940, where that recent high from April was. That's the way I'd be looking at it. This hold above the 500-day SMA, absolutely wonderful.
And if we can break above 9 on a closing basis, we're clearing a lot of that chunky high volume node and setting up for that continuation. So that's another thing to keep on watch.
Absolutely. Got to mention MCHP. This one was mentioned by our chat earlier. That just recaptured VWAP, looking to print some new highs here, albeit on some pretty low volume, but this thing is still moving up. So those of you that took this trade before we opened, well done on this.
And MCHP, for those in it, $80 the call wall to watch.
Real quick, a couple of you that were playing penny stocks here today, I guess register ring for that. This ABVE above food ingredients, huge rip here. This is actually more than a double now, up 183%. If you guys were playing this one, congrats. Tesla seeing a whole bunch of calls come through here, 305 to 310. These are all tomorrow expiry. So these all look like short term here. Tesla 305. Indeed, Pete. Looks like we're going for that intraday high here right out of the open.
You threw that Tesla in there just to make me laugh.
Well, I threw it in there because Pete also mentioned it. Pete also mentioned it. So I was basically just
Tesla.
Him,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's all computer.
That's right. Home Depot, nice move out of the gate here. We'll take that. That's back on. That's actually had a whole bunch of weakness. Remember, we talked a lot about Home Depot being very favorite, for heaven's sake, being a favorite right now for very high or very favorable seasonality. This pretty much goes through all the way through the end of July. I think July 29 was the end of that. Home Depot here after a little bit of a move back down. This is now approaching 380. We wanted 390 initially on this, only 15 points away now on Home Depot.
Whenever you mention Home Depot, I'm always going back to Stanley Black & Decker. That one also continuing to move up here today, looking like we're coming up to a pretty significant resistance area from when we dropped, beneath the $75 level in April. This was, of course, from the Liberation Day unwind. Spent some time trying to recapture that. Almost did it back in May, got rejected, but we've been continuing up. Making higher lows, and we're coming back up to the 75 area where I'm looking for some kind of move over 75 that takes us up to 80.
Speaking of stocks trading near 80, ALB making new highs here, continuing to push towards that $80 call wall.
Fantastic.
This is just straight up out of the open on ALB.
FTRE also continuing to grind higher. Cleveland Cliffs seeing some good price action there. CNK recently made a new intraday high. So seeing a lot of these things push. Even Etsy just making a new high as well.
PLL, Piedmont Lithium, this at the highs now. This
yes.
actually took out 7. I know this is, I think, one we meant to talk about the other day.
Yeah, because this is also, well, I think this is more on the lithium side.
It is.
Probably not lithium in the name, but they also have some, I thought they had some other kind of material operations. But yeah, so this one going to be another one on the not just the batteries and the EV side, but the fusion thing that we were talking about as well.
And call wall on that one, $7. So if we can clear that, you've got some pretty chunky room.
Looks like the resistance on that one could be a little bit stiffer at 8, but we are at that 7. We're trying to get over 7 right now at 703.
Netflix only down 2% here, but it does look like it's pounding the lows. We are actually down to the low from Tuesday. Part of me wonders where we go if we end up breaking that. Maybe 1240. Got any? Do the options say anything on Netflix?
Let's have a look here.
More rocket puts, by the way.
Uh-oh.
So Netflix looks like the big area of put interest is kind of close to what you're talking about, around 1250.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of the trade, the call wall on Netflix, 1300.
Okay, that makes sense from looking at the chart here.
And this is an area where there's pretty poor market structure from that move higher off April. So if you do have a retrace, it could get kind of nasty below some of those areas of support, like that implied put wall of 1250.
Okay, and don't forget Netflix earnings next week, a week from today after hours. Mazur was asking for levels or thoughts on you, Amy. 13, you had given some of those earlier. I can't remember what you had said. Do you have those handy?
Let's see here. I think I was mentioning the 50-day SMA, which is at 275. We did gap up today, so there could always be that that gap fill down, which would mean that it comes down 25 cents to 225 from where it's at. Still haven't been able to recapture the 20-day SMA. Let me look at a smaller time frame here, and this I think I was drawing it from those levels as well. Then VWAP at 255. I mean, I feel like if we got to hold 240, or we're going to probably see that, that gap fill.
Another squeezy.
Go ahead.
Jack in the box. JACK making new session highs here. This is another squeeze coming out.
'Tis the season to be squeezing.
Yes, my friend.
Oh yeah, 34%.
Hertz too, trading up towards the highs.
That was McDonald's running in sympathy. It looks like it is. They also got McDonald's maybe A running in sympathy, and B got a price target from Goldman Sachs of 345.
Yeah, it was actually more than just a price target too. That was a straight up upgrade from Goldman Sachs.
Yeah,
we're loving it.
I
had to.
Let's see. What about some of these other? So kind of like looking around at these fast food names. So Yum Brands also moving up in sympathy, just not as much. Wonder if that also puts Play in play. 5% move in Play today. This one also been a big short interest name recently, and has been making some really nice moves off the bottom. Down near 16 now, almost. Actually, we got a 2x here as of this month. Very nice.
That one just came up on my scan as well.
Nice. Dave & Buster's, excellent. This one going to be Golden Crossing pretty soon. Maybe later this month. Certainly, if we stay up here by August.
And lots of call interest on Play around the 40 strike. That's going to be the call wall on that one to watch.
Oh yeah, that stands out. Yeah. Really, really.
Sure does. Too. That one looks obvious from the chart.
Gonna put it level there.
And on futures, looking at the NASDAQ, challenging a potentially consequential pivot level on the futures contract for September at 22,965.75. If it can make a push above there, I think we might get some continuation. Does get into some chunky levels on the options contracts, but I'm liking the look of the way it's trying to bottom here. It also just made a break above key one negative. That's an area where there was a lot of put exposure. So seeing it push above there, the dealer reaction tends to be positive when you start pushing above some of those negative gamma levels.
This is great. A while back, we were talking about how restaurants were on the return here, and we went through a bunch of different names. Another one that looks really interesting, but seems also ready for a pullback, is Cake. You could look at a daily chart, but you might see it easier on a weekly that this is coming up to a spot like $66, where we have seen rejection over the years. For the past almost 8 years now, we've seen rejection at this particular level. So got anybody like Mayhem, you seen anything here with Cake about a wall at the 66, or what are we seeing here? Because I think we're coming up to some resistance.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a big amount of call exposure. The call wall for this one is going to be about 65. So there's a lot of confluence with exactly the area you're looking at.
All right. So I don't know how we can, I mean, I guess for now, because I don't know if we're going to get a breakout or not, but we are above 65. So you think we're going to see those rolled forward?
That's a great question. So far, the next area to watch that we've seen some positioning roll higher to is $70 on those contracts.
All right. So blue sky territory for this one. Now, we could end up seeing a cup with handle with this one now that we've got a really good formation with that, going back with the left side being from April of 2021. And then we have the right side here in July of 2025. I mean, wouldn't surprise me if we did get some selling that created a bit of a handle here before we moved higher.
And this one's squeezy too. 20% of the float short, 50 million share float. Average volume of just 1.32 million with a short interest of 9.5 million. That thing could take 2 weeks to clear if they actually had a decent squeeze. And right now, this has been just kind of mechanical buying. There really hasn't been a lot of excitement in the volume deltas or the buying compared to what could happen if it really does start to squeeze.
7.69 days to cover. You're right about that, taking time to cover all those up.
Yeah, that's just about 2 trading weeks.
Real quick here, Jeff was asking about coffee. Did the coffee futures tell you anything? I didn't look at those, but I would imagine that with the 50% tariff threat on Brazil, coffee prices must have reacted to that. You see anything there on coffee futures? Is that something that you ever look at?
I do. It's pretty tame so far, up just
Okay.
about 1.39%. But I like where he's thinking because I do think coffee is corrected enough that if you could base here, you could get a chunky move higher. And the reason that I'm saying that is because if you look at the positioning from the large asset managers on coffee from its highs, it has come down materially. I would say positioning is no longer stretched. And then if you zoom that out to a weekly chart, this could be an area where you might draw a trend line and see some support coming in.
Okay, there you go. Let me know if that's helpful there, Jeff.
One thing that I was looking into, because we had seen that, I'm trying to think of which company it was that was investing in Starbucks in China. I think it was BYD and Xiaomi. I was trying to see if I could figure out the angle for the reason for their investment. Happened upon this initiative where some companies are using coffee grounds as carbon for part of the batteries. I think it was the anode, in an effort to make batteries more environmentally friendly. So could be seeing some coffee grounds making their way into batteries in the future. I don't know if that's the exact reason why BYD and Xiaomi and a bunch of other companies were investing in Starbucks in China, but thought it was kind of interesting. There might even be a charging angle to it, but I thought that was some interesting little piece of research I found, is that some companies are trying to transition into using more renewable sources like coffee grounds for their battery production.
And got a question from someone in the audience looking at LAC.
Yep.
And got to say, I like the way the chart is setting up on that. We are in a lower volume node, so it's going to be a little more volatile here. We're just pushing towards the top of the Ichimoku cloud, a little bit of rejection there. Now we're back in the cloud, but we have cleared the 50-day moving average. So I like the look of that. And if we're looking at this thing from an options perspective, the next area of a lot of interest to watch would probably be just around $5.
Okay, back to that high from October.
And this one's got about 16% short interest. It's a pretty big float, about 184 million shares publicly traded with an average volume of 4.35 million. So with a short interest of 30 million shares and average volume of 4 million, this thing could take some time to clear out if it does actually become a squeeze. And I like the way the chart is just steadily grinding higher here.
Now, when this moves higher, GM may also catch some hype as well, because they own a good portion of Lithium Americas. General Motors.
Very interesting.
So I wonder if when it comes to, and they make some EVs, but yeah, they own a portion of Lithium Americas. Let me see if I think it's in the description, as a matter of fact. Yeah, there it is. So 38%. 38%.
Just real quick on the NASDAQ futures, we talked about that 22,965 pivot. We got right up there and rejected. So that's not a good look so far. We're going to have to see if this thing comes back and tests that vol trigger at 22,885.
Izzy, are you seeing the August 3 calls for LAC? Is that one of the things you were asking about? I don't have any on mine.
I don't either.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on that. All right, smash up the like, though, for Mayhem, taking requests out of the chat for us on his own. How about that?
Getting
pretty big. Go ahead, 13. Sorry.
That's all right. I was just going to say, Master was mentioning QS. What can we take a look at that? What you got to say?
Oh, yeah, just a big put sweep coming in earlier to Sezzle. That's SEZL. Mm-hmm. And that's targeting the 135 strike, about 337,000 in premium for that, expiring August 15th. And the way this chart looks, the way it's crushing the 20-day, it's down 10%. This thing looks like it could have some continuation lower.
God, it's got plenty of room.
Right?
It sure does. It's got plenty of room lower. Absolutely. This was a huge winner for our group pre-split. Huge winner. Great work.
And now, is this what's the catalyst here with this? I see insider selling, and I have certain opinions about the whole buy now, pay later space.
Me too.
But it seems like this is moving down on the insider sales. Don't know if we're getting anything else other than that. Do you see anything over there, Mayhem?
I have not been tracking this one till it just popped up, but what I will say about the buy now, pay later, or pay never space is that the never part is becoming a little more likely. There's a lot of folks that took out these loans that are just in no way thinking they're going to pay them back. And it's the way these things are structured, it's harder for them to collect and to really enforce it. So I think that that's one thing that puts a lot of these companies at greater risk. And you see that struggle for the bottom 50% of consumers, a lot of them living paycheck to paycheck, and 50% of consumption trends are driven by the top 10%. And guess what they're not using to pay for things? Buy now, pay later, or never. So I think there's a lot of, kind of confluent trends in the K-shaped distribution of socioeconomic outcomes that predispose these things to probably give back some of these gains.
It's nice to have an ally.
Yeah,
and Ryan and I are saying the same thing.
Absolutely.
Buy now, pay laters. It's going to be a bad day at some point. Just, I guess not right now, but maybe we're getting there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. 13.
Buy now, never pay later. Yeah, exactly. They took out new loans in my name. Be careful with that. We got you on camera now. So, man, just kind of looking around here. This is a lot of sideways action, and we are actually right at that 10:30 mark where we start to see volume leave the market here.
I was just going to say, I'll tell you what, Mayhem, this was a perfect day for you to stop by here and kind of roll through some of the different things that you're seeing in options, because those have actually been the plays. Some of these little movers here, aside from that penny stock ABVE that went crazy, these have been a huge disappointment. We had much better moves than some of the bigger names that you were talking about, like the Etsy's, the MP. Etsy's still at the high, by the way. That's still moving higher here. There was another, what was the CNK? There was another one that you had on that list. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, CNK, that one made a new high around 1010. Now it's kind of consolidating some of those gains. You've got ASPI, that one made a new high off the open. Now it's sort of consolidating as well here. FTRE, that one just recently made another new high, just steady accumulation on there. And then we had looked at Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box recently made a new high and is just sort of consolidating there. So a lot of these names trading sideways a little bit, but overall, the gains that they're holding onto are quite impressive so far.
Hey, Wisdom, there you are. He's almost done with his mountain bunker.
Good, because I'm going to need a bunker to go to if everything goes to hell here. And believe me, I'm going to Wisdom's bunker.
And Jeff Spicoli saying that these people haven't seen The Big Short starring Christian Bale. You know what I got from that was that he was a master at bag holding.
Yes,
he had that position on for a while before it finally materialized.
And I will say, with those for folks out there that think you can make tons of money shorting things, most people die shorting things like that. Like the vast majority of people that put on those kind of full port short with leverage type of plays, they're going to implode. So be careful out there if that's something that's inspired you to think you're going to win the lottery playing a big short play like that. Most of the asymmetrical risk is against you in those.
CLF here almost at that 10 target.
Yep, and great mention, Billy, here with STKH. That just broke over its VWAP, getting a nice push up here to some of these other pre-market levels. It looks like 360 is the next one that's going to potentially find some resistance. Hopefully, after it spins around doing that 360, it goes higher here.
And for CLF, we've got a huge offer at 1050, 664,000 shares on offer, really dwarfing the offer at $10, which is just now 105,000, coming down a bit, about 10,000 shares less than it was earlier. So you're starting to see a lot of interest in higher prices. And the way I look at that order book is those are folks that are looking for the price to get up there. They're not saying we don't want it to get up there. Quite the opposite. They're saying we want it to get up there. We're looking to cash out around that level.
Oh, we are just on the doorstep of that 200-day SMA too.
Does it feel to you like those sellers are just kind of moving up? The ones that are at 10 just moving up to the higher level?
Let's take a look at how these have evolved. Yeah, it looks like there was a little bit of a rotation, but it does look like that offer at 1050 has been pretty solid since the open. And if we zoom out a little more, the next really big offer level on this thing is going to be around 22 bucks. That could have been on the books for a while, but it's interesting to note that there's even any interest that high.
Okay.
Wisdom, thank you for the blessings. Appreciate it. They needed all they can get out there.
Ryan, I got some room for you, sir. I can be king of the pine cones. I don't even know what you're trying to get at right there, but I love that it came from the heart. By the way, real quick, Rocket ticker RKT, that actually paring back a lot of its losses earlier there. Really good to see. Not doing it on higher than average volume. Looks like it was just kind of an impulse move down. You had said, what did you have? Let me actually put this up on my other chart. We had that 200-day moving average that we really wanted that to hold above. Let me see where we're at with that.
Well, we did print above it a couple, 2 days in a row yesterday. I think we're beneath it right now. Let me look. I think the level we wanted to see hold was the 50 and the 500 are right beneath it. So those need to hold. But 13, not me, the price, that needs to, I think that's the kind of the line in the sand right there. But this formation that we've been getting since the middle of June looks a little bearish. So want to see some invalidation of this, what appears to be a head and shoulders pattern.
And for folks watching this one for overhead resistance, there's a significant wall of calls at 15 and 16.
Those are the, man, we have these levels pinned on this trade.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Oh, come on.
Yeah, our community, our group in Happy Hour, we've kind of been on this for a while now. 18, the IPO price, I think that's going to be a big area of resistance.
And just a shout out to the whole Happy Hour crew, great group of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that guy. It's the funny. We get asked about that here occasionally. We started that just kind of on a whim during COVID. The thought was, wow, there's a bunch of traders that are trapped at home. The market's closed. They probably want to discuss these things. Why don't we create a show where, unlike Fast Money, where we just tell you what to buy, everyone can come in and discuss different things, and it morphed into what it is now. So it's really a testament to the tenacity of the traders in our ecosystem. And just the thirst for knowledge that just never really goes away.
That's what keeps me coming back is all this information that everybody brings to the table. And wisdom, I don't know anybody. Sorry.
And that is honestly one of the really inspiring parts of finance and tech as well, is that there's always more to learn. There's always room for improvement. And that keeps me fascinated by it because I'm just kind of like a sponge. I like to absorb and take that information and try to monetize it and try to build and improve. And I think for everyone out there, complacency is your enemy. Always keep an open mind and always keep learning.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why we've structured our rules like this. Like I encourage everyone to talk. I encourage everyone to have their opinion and share it with others, but don't attack because of that, right? You can definitely learn from someone that has a different opinion than you. And when it comes to trading, none of us are always right. The more information you get, the better off you're going to be. So awesome.
100%.
Really quickly here, wanted to share this comment. Michelle, I'm brand spanking new. I'm so glad I found you guys. You've been more than helpful. Are you able to give advice on where to go to learn how to master the scanner? So I would say the videos that we have within Pro are how to use the scanner. If what you're looking for is how to effectively use a scanner to find things, that's a little bit more specific, right? Everyone trades a little bit different. I would first start with a goal. What are you trying to scan for? Are you trying to scan for short-term day trades? Are you trying to scan for things that are swing trades? Are you looking for more of the investment route? The scanner is able to accommodate all of that. That really depends on which filters you pick. So I would say definitely hang around, Michelle. You can ask any of those questions that you want. I don't necessarily have a great resource. Again, a lot of this depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish. Specifically.
And I'd love to tag along on that. Michelle, welcome to the world of trading. There's all kinds of great resources here. The biggest thing for you is in your journey of discovery, figure out what kind of trader you are. because that's going to have a
Absolutely.
really, really big impact on how you use these tools, how you manage your risk, figure out what your goals are, but also figure out how you're wired. We're all wired differently. Different types of trading styles work well for different traders. So, that's sort of your initial journey of discovery. It's an exciting time. The biggest bit of advice I'd say is be patient, learn what works for you, and then lean into that and keep a journal. Figure out what type of trades work, and you'll have that journal to be accountable to yourself to what's working. And when things aren't working, learn why and try to iteratively improve that system you're using.
Yeah, amen. Really great advice across the board there. I should have started journaling earlier than I did. And that other part that he just mentioned about figure out what kind of trader you are, that is so important. I had no sight of that when I started. I thought for sure, I was like, oh man, I've watched Wall Street before. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I can buy something one day and in the same day sell it 5 points higher. This is going to be easy. My first month of trading, I was up 10K and I was like, oh, I found my new job. This is easy, no problem. Yeah, the next 3 months were humbling. So that actually helped me figure out what kind of trader I wanted to be. I realized day trading was not necessarily my favorite. I much prefer to swing things, especially things that have a story. So I think that's spectacular advice. I absolutely appreciate that.
Yeah, I absolutely
Mayhem,
want to also mention in our happy hour group, we have a gentleman who's been keeping a journal for, I think, over 3 decades now.
Yep.
So he is constantly looking back at trades that he's done before and using seasonality to determine if he's going to, if he's going to meet his goals in that trade. He's going to use his data that he's learned from past trades, when to enter, when to exit. He's got a lot of data on his hands, and you are much more well equipped when you have that kind of data backing your trades.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Mayhem, first of all, I appreciate you stopping by here, giving us some time out of your morning, as I appreciate it in the afternoon as well. I'll say this here just in front of the group. I'm hoping that you can join us again. Any interest in that?
100%. I love it. This is a great community. You guys have a lot of fun trading, and I'm all about it. And I also just want to quickly drop another one I'm watching that's breaking out.
Yes.
PBF. It's another short squeeze, just made new session highs, and we're seeing some pretty chunky accumulation of these shares here as well, and a lot of offers, a lot of interest overhead in PBF. I also like the charts breaking above the 200-day moving average over the last several days.
Oh yeah, this actually does look like a pretty awesome chart.
Yep, got that high short interest. Looks like it's got the days to cover. It's checking a lot of boxes.
And we're clearing the call wall today.
Oh yeah.
I love it when a plan comes together. Okay, we are going to go to an all access in about 10 minutes. So we have about 10 minutes left. Mayhem, you're more than welcome to hang out if you'd like to. I would love, like I said, I'd love to kind of make you a regular here. So as your schedule allows, we'd love to have you back. I draw a lot of insight from what you see in the options market. You seem to look at the options market like those folks in the Matrix looked at the Matrix, where you just see all the code and you see what's going to happen there. So we'll take that all day long. Really, really good stuff. Just in case I run out of time here, because sometimes I get sidetracked and I have to kind of cut this real quick, just as a reminder, all access today in 10 minutes. And then after that, we'll be done here for today. We'll be back tomorrow.
And Ryan, I'll glad you take you up on that offer. I'd love to be back with you guys on a regular basis. This is a ton of fun, and you and 13 are awesome. The whole Benzinga community is awesome.
Okay, that's great. That means a lot. That means a lot. Yeah. I mean, I love bringing more people into the Benzinga ecosystem, showing it to them, and then being like, wow, you guys are really creating something awesome here. And you've said that, Anne Maria has said that, Adam Mesh from T3 has said that. There's been a lot of our guests that have said that recently. So fantastic. That tells me that we're over the target and we're doing something right here.
We do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I was just saying, we do appreciate you coming on. I got to mention here, Tess saying that she's maintained a journal that she started in the 80s. That's a professional right there.
Wow.
Yep. That's a pro trader right there. Good job,
Love
Tess.
it.
And Izzy, we've been talking about Mac all morning. We started before the bell. We talked about it during. This is one that is going to really move with these other copper mining names. It's just that this doesn't have the operations up yet, but eventually this will be a really good one. Let's see if we can get you some of those levels that we discussed earlier this morning, since you were asking for those. Nice to see it, by the way. So this popped up all the way to, looks like, what, 240? Yeah, that's the high of the session. Not liking the way the candle looks right now. Could see this come in a little bit more, but yeah, we're pretty extended. To me personally, I think when you see a name like this that's been extended and we've got the news out of the way, I feel like it's got to come back in and set up again. So that's what I'd be looking for, is a little bit more of a return down to where the levels were previously, maybe around 2, probably possibly lower than that, around 180. But this has had a really nice move up. We're very extended with an RSI almost at 80. Got to think that we cool off a little bit here before we see some more upside in this one.
Yeah, these are the types of moves you want to sell into, not chase.
Mm-hmm. And those of you that were taking the TQQQ, really great job. This is this went from 83.15 all the way up to the VWAP. Well, my VWAP, which I have at 84. So nice little 85-cent move there. Just being patient, waiting for this to get extended away from its VWAP.
And speaking of that, what a move here. The market really kind of trading down at the open there. Everything's turning back here. S&P has now gone positive again. S&P futures here up 1/10. It was really the Qs that were kind of leading the way down here. Even that has turned around. Although we're not back to even here, that has turned around. So really good kind of reversal here.
Oh yeah.
And we're seeing flows balance out in SPX options. It's pretty much balancing out, but we're starting to see a little bit more leaning into calls. That's constructive. And then on the heat map, seeing some of the other sectors really take the lead. So tech is still, there's still a fair amount of red in some of those techs, but healthcare, real estate, industrials, utilities, energy, financials, they're starting to turn around. That's constructive to see that. And speaking of some of those, one stock that just caught my attention here on the options flow is CC. It's clearing its call wall of 14. There is a sweep for the 15 strike, about 115,000 in premium paid for that, expiring August 15th. And the chart on this thing is beautiful.
Sure is. Nice clean double bottom down here that we've reversed off of, and we've really climbed all of these moving averages here, the 50, the 20, the 100. We've got the 200-day insights here, about $1 away on that. That's a great call on CC.
Yeah, it looks very similar to PBF that we were looking at earlier, except this one just hasn't cleared its 200 yet like BF has. Very similar looking charts though. And being that CC is in chemicals, I'm trying to see what the angle here is. If there's something that we were just talking about recently that is causing this to go, on the materials side.
Real quickly here, MP CEO on CNBC right now.
Oh, he's probably pumping it.
I can't hear him, but he's talking about it.
Looks like I'm not going to say that I love the reasoning behind the move in CC, so full disclosure, but the headline that I have from yesterday that's probably driving some of the action into today is it's surging on EPA withdrawing the ban on a form of asbestos.
Yeah, I think I'd like to know some more information on that. That doesn't sound great.
Right.
I mean, it's okay if we want to cut some red tape, but let's just not throw it all in the garbage.
Yes. Yes.
Oh man,
that's. I mean, you know what? We're starting to see more of this. Maybe we need to identify a little bit of a theme happening here with some companies that have been suppressed over the past several years as a result of the EPA. With these rewriting of rules and with NAK now, we're getting a renegotiation in that ban to develop their mining site. Maybe we should take a look at some companies that have been hammered recently or over the past 4 years by EPA rules. Maybe we see some reversals in those.
Yeah, I think we might see more deregulation in the second half of the year. Sorry, Mayhem.
No, you're fine. I like where your head's at. I think you're 100% spot on. And another catalyst I would add to that is the decreased time and intensity of permitting for a lot of projects in energy and mining. That may be another catalyst for that space as well. When the big beautiful bill passed, for example, the energy space started to see a bid that next week. It wasn't on the holiday week because a lot of those big decision makers at firms, those allocators were out. But now we started to see some of that interest come back in. And I think part of it has to do with that bill really taking away some of the regulation, starting to see the royalties no longer have to be paid, opening up a lot of land. Think of any of that stuff, what we will. We can't attach our emotions to trading. We just have to trade the market in front of us. And there's certainly opportunity and margin expansion for that space and potentially revenue expansion as well.
Close your hearts, open your minds.
Yes.
Your emotions at the door.
Well, there's another shirt.
Yep.
I said that before. You loved it. You loved it then too.
We're opening a shirt store, ladies and gentlemen. We're opening a shirt store.
We've actually talked about that. We have a lot of really good quotes that, you know, I know maybe only some of like the finance trading nerds like us might get, but they're pretty funny. And that would be a sweet little side gig.
And folks, if you're watching S&P futures right now, you might start to see some resistance around 63.19. There's a confluence with the second most active SPX strike converted to futures terms, as well as the third largest level of net call exposure on the chain. So just watch that. If you're trading it, we might see some consolidation or even some rejection up there.
Okay. Really awesome stuff. Okay, I want to clear the deck here. Get ready for Dan. We're going to be doing a all access here. Mayhem, again, can't thank you enough. Please follow Markets and Mayhem on Twitter. He's an awesome follow. We really appreciate you taking time here today and then also in the happy hour. And yeah, keep in contact. We will definitely have you back on a regular cadence here. This was awesome.
Yep.
And I had a great time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. You guys are awesome.
Yep. Awesome stuff. Thank you. That is Markets and Mayhem, folks. Please go check out his Twitter. He is absolutely awesome. And I promise we will have him back. 13. Before we get over to Dan, do you have any closing thoughts for the group on today's session here?
Folks, I love coming here and talking with you and seeing every little piece of information you guys give us in the chat. I'm absolutely over the moon with how you guys have just continued to work and develop with us. And now we have Markets and Mayhem coming on to also share his knowledge. And it's just a wonderful community here. So thank you guys. Continue to just be awesome. And I'll be back here tomorrow. We'll find some more stuff to trade and we'll make some money. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the next show.
All right. That sounds awesome. Thank you, 13. Good job as always. Really quick here, as Big A Bees is saying, please don't forget to smash that like button. Supporting us here is free and it's easy. And if you smash that like button, let's make sure we exploit that YouTube algorithm and add more awesome folks to our community here on a regular basis. Now, we will be back tomorrow, but don't go anywhere because we're going to be having an all access here. Let me bring on Dan and see how he's doing. Let me clear this off here. Where's it at? Dan, how you doing, man? Happy Thursday.
Hey, dream is alive. I'm a little under the weather, but for you, I would always be here, and I always support.
I gotta say, first of all, you don't look or sound under the weather, so well done. Whatever your secret is there, good stuff. What do you got coming up for us?
Got my man Lance Allstott, the chairman and CEO of Biorestorative Therapies. You know, as you like to say, we're good hands.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, take it away, Dan. All access starts right now.
Hey, Zingers, and welcome to All Access. I've got a wonderful guest for you today. It is my man, Lance Allstott, the chairman and CEO of Biorestorative Therapies. The NASDAQ ticker is BRTX. He's joining us for an exclusive talk today. All Access starts right now. And it is my pleasure to welcome back the chairman and CEO of Biorestorative Therapies, Lance Allstott. Lance, great to be with you.
Dan, thanks for having me again. I really appreciate it. Sorry to hear you're not feeling well.
Hey, seeing you is making me feel better, so we got that going. That's always a positive. Let's start with this, Lance. I know there's a lot of good stuff I want to get to you with today. But what were the key results of that 36-patient phase 2 trial of BRTX 100 for chronic lumbar disc disease? I know some really good things happened.
Yeah, thanks for asking. The preliminary data for the first 36 patients was highly encouraging. We were really excited about the blinded results. At 52 weeks, over 74% of the participants demonstrated a greater than 50% improvement in function, and over 72% reported a greater than 50% reduction in pain, both substantially exceeding the FDA's clinically meaningful threshold of 30%. So these results, as you know, were presented at the ISSCR 2025 in Hong Kong. and really just affirm the powerful potential of BRTX 100 to transform how we treat chronic lumbar disc disease, a condition with limited therapeutic options and a very large unmet need.
It's great to hear that. And let's talk about what that means for the value of BRTX 100 and its pathway to approval that you alluded to.
Yeah, so in terms of value, I think the results significantly de-risk the program. BRTX 100 is now tracking towards regulatory milestones with strong clinical momentum. The product has FDA fast track designation, and we believe that the phase 2 outcome set the stage for a successful pivotal trial or even an accelerated path towards a BLA license. From a market perspective, chronic lumbar disc disease affects millions globally with very few non-surgical solutions. BRTX 100's potential as a first-in-class autologous stem cell therapy really positions BioRestorative to capture a substantial share of a multi-billion-dollar market opportunity.
Which obviously, as you mentioned, it's a huge market. And for those, Lance, that don't know, what does BRTX 100 do? And what makes it different from other drugs in development for chronic lumbar disc disease?
Yeah, so BRTX 100, it's an autologous therapy, stem cell therapy, meaning it uses the patient's own bone marrow derived stem cells, which are specifically cultured in a low oxygen condition to mimic the harsh environment of the spine's damaged discs. Then we inject those enhanced cells directly into the affected disc, where it actually reduces inflammation, it promotes repair, and helps to regenerate disc tissue at the very source of the problem. Now, what makes it truly differential and proprietary, if you will, is that we're not masking the pain. We're targeting the root cause of the disc degeneration with a biologically active regenerative approach. Most other treatments like opioids, steroids, or even emerging injectables only offer temporary pain relief. Right. Others in the regenerative space often use allogeneic or donor-derived cells, which come with some immunity risk and other variability. So our therapy, it's personalized, it's targeted, and it's durable with effects lasting up to 7 years in some patients. This makes the product or the product candidate a first-in-class product candidate with the potential to redefine how we treat chronic lumbar disc disease, offering patients long-term relief without surgery and creating a differentiated high-value opportunity for investors.
So unbelievable stuff, Lance. Let's talk about what's next, by the way, and when does BioRestorative expect to enroll more patients in the trial? Is that goal still to enroll up to 90 patients as well?
Yeah, 99 patients, but there's a lot going on at the company, but specifically with respect to the trial, our goal remains to enroll up to the 99 patients in total, and we find that we're tracking well. We expect to have an announcement shortly around enrollment, which I think will be very exciting. In terms of what's next, I think with the compelling safety and efficacy data from the first 36 patients now in hand and presented at the conference, we're entering a key expansion phase. So we expect to accelerate enrollment throughout the second half of this year with new clinical sites coming online and increased physician interest now that the preliminary data has been made public. The trial is designed to be randomized and placebo-controlled, and we're seeing growing momentum from both investigators and patients, especially given the unmet need in chronic lumbar disc disease. The next phase of enrollment is all about scaling validation. So building on the strong signal that we have so far, preparing the groundwork for a potential pivotal phase 3 trial or something even more accelerated. And we believe that these steps are essential as we move towards regulatory milestones and ultimately position BRTX 100 as a potential first-in-class therapy in a market with very few options at this stage.
And also, to go along with all that great stuff, I know you recently hired Sandy Lipkins to lead your commercial effort. Can you discuss this strategic hire of him and what it means for the value of BRTX 100 and BioRestorative's future?
we've been working on Sandy for a long time now, so bringing him on board is transformative move for our company. Sandy is a proven company builder and seasoned executive with over 30 years of experience in venture capital, regenerative medicine, anti-aging, biologics manufacturing. He scaled companies from the ground up, structured major strategic deals, and built platforms that reached revenue and in some cases very successful exits. So his role here is focused on commercializing the biocosmeceuticals and regenerative product platforms. He's driving strategic partnerships and licensing opportunities on a global stage, while our clinical pipeline, including BRTX-100, continues to advance. Sandy's addition kind of signals that we're just as focused on revenue growth, monetization, and near-term commercial wins. For investor, I think it means several things. It means we're activating our commercial team in parallel with the clinical development, creating a hybrid approach to biotech. We're exploring strategic alliances, distribution, international expansion for our biologic and aesthetics product line. And we're positioning biorestorative, like I said, as this hybrid biotech, one with long-term therapeutic upside through BRTX-100 and other clinical programs, and then a shorter-term commercial opportunity in the high-growth biocosmeceutical and regenerative space. So Sandy's expertise and his track record make him the ideal person really to unlock value across all these dimensions. And we're excited for this growth phase to right ahead of us.
For sure. I know Sandy brings a lot of gravitas, so I'm excited you guys were able to get him involved. And I noticed you announced a share buyback, Lance. Can you talk about the thinking behind that and the timing?
Sure. We recently received formal authorization from our board of directors to initiate a share repurchase program. The authorization really just gives us the flexibility to repurchase shares, but the actual execution of the buyback is entirely at our discretion, the management team, meaning we'll make those decisions based on what's in the best interest of the company and our shareholders. We believe that the current share price doesn't reflect the intrinsic value of what we're building between the strong phase 2 for BRTX-100, the commercial expansion of our biocosmeceutical and regenerative platforms, and the strategic leadership we've brought in. This is a pivotal moment for the company. From a capital allocation standpoint, the buyback gives us a way to enhance long-term shareholder value when market conditions align. And we're well positioned to do that without compromising any of these growth initiatives. So the bottom line is, the board has empowered us to use this tool, and we'll use it opportunistically and responsibly to support our shareholders and to signal confidence in the business.
Great stuff going on at BioRestorative Therapies. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Lance. Thank you so much for your time today. None of the best going.
Dan, thanks. And just one other thing, if I could mention,
Sure.
the changing tides in the regulatory environment really provide such a great wind at our back. So we're experiencing that right now, and I think from a rotation of capital out of certain indices into the healthcare and small cap biopharma, we're seeing that not just from the healthcare specialists, but we're seeing it now from the generalists as well, which I think will bode well for companies like ours and the industry in general. So again, thanks again for your time. I appreciate you making this work given your illness. You look great. Your shirt's fantastic.
By the way, like I like to say, Lance, it's a heck of a time to be alive. So it really is great stuff, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, Lance.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Got it. That was the chairman and CEO of BioRestorative Therapies, Lance Ostad. Heck of a guy. Their NASDAQ ticker is BRTX. Well, that's going to do it for us today, friends. I'm Dan Leach saying keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, everybody.